Chapter 572. Ling Chunwan looked at the figure and frowned. How could there be a man more arrogant than her brother in this world? The climax of the wedding was the bonfire party in the evening. Many beautiful women in bikinis and straw dresses sang and danced around the fire. Ling Chunwan arrived late. When she arrived, the scene was already in full swing. Nuanyuan, where have you been? I've been looking for you for a long time. Gu Yuechen came out of the crowd and grabbed her. There's a lot of dancing over there. There's a lot of fun and acrobatics. Let's go. Ling Chunwan looked at Gu Yuechen's smiling face and couldn't help but think of the conversation she had just heard in the lounge. No matter how hard she tried, she could only smile reluctantly. Chun! Lu Nanja's voice came from behind Gu Yuechen. Ling Chunwan looked up and glanced at him. She had never seen the young man's face full of spirit before. Gu Yuechen's face was obviously stiff. Well, Brother Nanjo seems to be looking for you. I won't disturb you. Hey Nuanyuan. Gu Yuechen did not manage to pull her back. He watched as Ling Chunwan ran out of sight. The adults sang and danced around the bonfire. Ling Chunwan ran all the way to the table, took a glass of champagne, and drank 2 mouthfuls. Her heart became more bitter. Are you in a bad mood, Nuanyuan sister? A young voice came from the side. Ling Chunwan looked for the voice and saw Song Yinma. Song Yinma was the son of her aunt. Gu Min. Ling Chunyuan's aunt, Gu Min, grew up in the Four Seasons villa. Like her 2 older brothers, she was adopted by her grandfather Gu Heng. She could be considered as half a daughter of the villa. Later, Gu Min married her husband, who was a network engineer, and moved from the villa to Lan River. Song Yinma was 4 years younger than her, and was 15 years old this year. She hung around Ling Yufeng all day long. Although she was young, she was already one of the best playboys in Lanjiang City. Who said I was in a bad mood? Ling Chunwan pinched his cheek. Little brat. Alcohol can make people temporarily forget their troubles. If you weren't in a bad mood, would you drink it? Ling Chunwan was slightly taken aback. She stared at the wine glass in her hand hesitantly. Even a little brat like Song Yinma could see through his thoughts? But I think you should drink more. After all, marrying someone you haven't even met before is really too depressing. Ling Chunwan furrowed her brows in confusion. You don't know? Song Yinma blinked. Don't tell me you don't know. Know what? That you're going to marry Zhuang Hong. What Zhuang Hong? Who is Zhuang Hong? The adopted son of the chairman of the Zhuang Yu group. He was engaged to you when you were young. Don't you know? It seems like such a thing. I thought my mommy was joking with me. Song Yinma stared at Ling Chunwan in surprise. Nuanyuan sister, why are you so careless? For the first time, Ling Chunwan seriously heard about her engagement from Song Yinma. The engagement was set more than 10 years ago, because Ling Chunwan's mother and the chairman of the Zhuang Yu group were very close sisters. One day, when they were drinking afternoon tea together, they talked about their child's future. The 2 sisters decided that instead of letting their child, who they had painstakingly raised, to be spoiled by someone they didn't know about, it was better to keep the goodies within the family. Their own sisters were easier to talk to. In this way, the engagement between Zhuang Hong and Ling Chunwan was set. But I've never seen him before. You'll see him soon. My mom just said that Zhuang Hong seems to have come to the wedding with his adoptive mother. Later, my aunt will definitely look for you. She wants to take you to meet him and make a good impression. It should be the legendary blind date banquet. I'm only 19. So what? Brother Guyao started dating when he was 12. It's not like that at all. That's all I know. Well, I can't talk to you anymore. My girlfriend called me, Song Yinma said as she shook her phone. The name Sweetheart on the screen blinded Ling Chunwan. Girlfriend. Ling Chunwan twitched the corner of her mouth. What was wrong with children nowadays? How could a 15-year-old be in a relationship? Ling Chunwan didn't take Song Yinma's words seriously at first, but after suddenly receiving a call from her mother, she began to suspect that what Song Yinma said was true. In the hotel box, the atmosphere was very peaceful. Ling Chunwan stood at the door and stealthily opened it a little to hear the conversation inside. The 2 children only met once when they were young. After so many years, they definitely don't remember. Hong said that he remembers. He just said that he couldn't wait to meet Nuanyuan. Really? Yi Huanyan's voice was full of joy. If Hong takes a fancy to Nuanyuan, it'll be Nuanyuan's blessing. You know, my girl is very stupid. She's always slower than others. That's not true. I like Nuanyuan's innocence. Moreover, that child is very smart. You should go out less with Ling Han and spend more time with her at home. You'll know. Sister, you're scolding me again. We're both old people. Give me some face. The direction of the conversation was getting more and more different from Ling Chunwan's worldview. If it was appropriate, the two children should get married as soon as possible. It didn't matter if they were not of legal age. They could just hold the wedding first. Ling Chunwan's face was pale with fright. She carefully closed the door, turned around, and ran away. Why was the world so scary? Why did she feel like she had been betrayed by her own mother? She stumbled out, but she didn't run far before she bumped into a chest. The person who was bumped into let out a muffled groan. She lowered her head and apologized. She was so flustered that she didn't know where to run, but a large hand pulled her to the front. Have you thought it through? The familiar voice carried a dangerous aura. Ling Chunwan raised her head abruptly and saw the man in the changing room. His features were exquisite, his eyes were sharp, and there was a cold aura between his brows. He was looking at her with a mischievous expression. Ling Chunwan was about to refute when she suddenly heard the sound of the door opening behind her. It was accompanied by a familiar voice calling her name. Nuanyuan, why aren't you coming in? As if she had grabbed onto a life-saving straw, Ling Chunwan grabbed the arm of the man beside her. I've thought it through. Take me with you now. The corners of the man's mouth curled up. There was a meaningful smile in his long and narrow eyes. The sea breeze was gentle, and a speedboat was riding the wind and breaking the waves. A group of people chased them to the shore. Zhuang Suqiu stared at the small shadow that was only a small dot left, and asked in confusion, why are they running away? Yi Huanyan smiled. Who knows? But it looks like they don't need our help to introduce them. The sea breeze blew her hair. Ling Han put his arm around her shoulder and looked at the sparkling sea in the distance under the moonlight. His expression was as gentle as a pool of spring water. Everything was arranged for the best. Chapter 573. On a private island in Mauritius, a 3-story villa was uniquely built in the middle of a forest. One could overlook the entire beach from the floor-to-ceiling windows. Ling Chunwan had been here for a week. At first she was curious, but later on, she gradually got bored. Now she was bored to death every day. She even began to miss the days when her brother scolded her at home. Miss Ling, what are you having for dinner today? Ling Chunwan looked back at the servant who was waiting for her to speak. She hesitated for a moment. No, I want to go home. When is he coming back tonight? The servants looked at each other. We never ask about young master's whereabouts. But he has been coming back every day for the past 2 days. Tonight should be no exception. Oh. Ling Chunwan nodded and looked out of the window. I want to go home. Where is the nearest port? Miss Ling, you have to wait for young master to come back. Otherwise, it will be hard for us to explain. Okay. Ling Chunwan had always been easy to talk to. Seeing that the servants were in a difficult position, she dismissed the idea of leaving directly. Her phone rang. It was Lu Nanzhou calling. She pressed the answer button. What's the matter? Lu Nanzhou's voice was a little worried. Nuanyuan, you've been out for a week. Everyone is worried about you. When are you coming back to Lan River? Have you returned to Lan River? We were going to leave, but Chen wanted to stay here and wait for you, so I stayed too. We're still at the hotel where my sister and your brother held their wedding. When are you coming back? Brother Nanzhou, when did you start to care about me so much? My brother has never asked about me. Lu Nanzhou's voice was a little hesitant. It's Chen. Chen said that if you don't come back, he won't leave. I just want to ask you, are you coming back? Let Chen answer the phone. No matter how stupid Ling Chunwan was, she could tell that this phone call was not Lu Nanzhou's intention. Lu Nanzhou had never been so concerned about her. After a while, Gu Yuechen's voice came from the other end of the phone. Nuanyuan, where are you? I'm playing. Don't you all know that? But you haven't contacted us at all. I had so much fun. While answering the phone, Ling Chunwan changed her position on the sofa and looked around. It was not fun here. Did you hear something? Gu Yuechen asked cautiously. Ling Chunwan was silent for a few seconds, and the voice on the other end of the phone suddenly became urgent. Nan and I. So you know about it too? Ling Chunwan interrupted Gu Yuechen. I suddenly have a fiancé. If it were you, you wouldn't be able to accept it either, right? I'll stay away from the limelight for a while, lest my parents catch me and bring me back for a blind date. Gu Yuechen seemed to be stunned. A blind date? That's right. If Momo hadn't told me in advance, and I hadn't been mentally prepared, I would definitely have been forced by my mother to sell me. Ling Chunwan's tone was deliberately casual, but the voice on the other end of the phone was getting weirder and weirder. You don't want to accept this marriage? Yes, who wants to accept it? But Nuanyuan, I heard that you left with a man? Yes, it's all thanks to him. I saved him before, so he's repaying his debt. Do you know the name of the man you left with? Zhuang Hong. The sound of swallowing came from the other end of the phone. Then do you know the name of the fiancé your family arranged for you? I think Momo mentioned it before. I forgot. Who cares, it's not important. I don't want to marry him anyway. His name is Zhuang Hong. Gu Yuechen's voice was so weird that Ling Chunwan didn't come back to her senses for a long time. Zhuang Hong? The moon was bright, and the stars were few. When Zhuang Hong returned to the villa, it was already late at night. The house was brightly lit. As soon as he entered the house, all the maids knelt on the ground. One of them said with a pale face, "Young master, Miss Ling is missing." Zhuang Hong's expression changed. When did this happen? While the villa was in chaos, Ling Chunwan had already passed through the woods and was about to arrive at the only port on the island. When she arrived at the port, a boat happened to be docked. She waved desperately at the boat and asked in fluent English, "Where can I buy a ticket? I want to take the boat." There was a big man with a dark face standing on the boat. When he saw her, he looked down at the photo on his phone and turned back to the cabin and shouted something. 4 or 5 big men suddenly rushed out of the cabin, all of them with strong backs and strong waists. Ling Chunwan was slightly stunned and instantly realized the danger. She forced a smile and waved her hand. "Well, I remember that I still have something to take. I'll go first." When she was running, Ling Chunwan realized how serious a flaw it was to not be diligent. Before she could run 2 steps, she was caught by 2 big men like a chicken and directly thrown into the cabin. When she was knocked unconscious, she vaguely heard one of the big men say something. "He took this little girl to the island. With this little girl here, we don't have to be afraid that he won't come to us. Let's go." The boat left the port, and the sound of the sea was beating in her ears. She was dizzy, and Ling Chunwan gradually lost the ability to think. When Zhuang Hong received the news and rushed to the port, it was already empty. There was only the reflection of a boat far away on the sea. When Ling Chunwan woke up, it was already 3 days later. The room was very dark and very narrow, only enough to accommodate 1 person. She felt for a long time, and felt a piece of protrusion on the wall. The familiar feeling made her slightly stunned. Was it the 9-compartment lock? Through the crack of the door, there was a graceful figure of a woman talking to a man. And the man's voice made Ling Chunwan's action of unlocking the door slightly pause. It was Zhuang Hong. "Where's Nuanyuan? You call her so intimately. As far as I know, you've only known the second daughter of the Ling family for a few days. Have you forgotten so quickly that I'm the closest person to you? I'm the only one who knows the pain of living under someone else's roof. I'm the only one who can empathize with your feelings. I'm the only one who understands you the most. Zhuang Yu, that's enough. Don't force your own thoughts on me. I didn't tell Mom what you did because of our friendship. If you dare to do anything to Nuanyuan, don't blame me for not being polite. Are you really so heartless?" The woman's voice was full of pain and unwillingness. "You know that I've liked you for so many years. You're just my sister. We're not related by blood. It has nothing to do with blood. Sister will always be sister." "Zhuang Hong." The woman raised her voice, as if she didn't want to hear Zhuang Hong emphasize those 2 words. After a while, she pushed a glass of wine on the table in front of Zhuang Hong. "Okay, don't you want to see her? I'll fulfill your wish. Drink this glass of wine, and you can see her. The scarlet liquid in the wine glass was full of evil. Zhuang Hong didn't even blink, and drank it in one gulp. He coldly looked at the woman in front of him. Do you know what I added to the wine? Do you think the woman you love will still be with you if she watches you sleep with me? Chapter 574. Zhuang Hong's face was livid. Are you crazy for resorting to such despicable means? I am crazy. Zhuang Yu's face darkened. When I found out that you were going to follow Mom's instructions and fulfill this ridiculous engagement, I went crazy. The aphrodisiac quickly took effect. When he pushed Zhuang Yu away, Zhuang Hong was obviously not as strong as he wanted to be. The two of them were entangled on the bed when suddenly there was a click sound in the room, followed by the sound of gears turning. The closet facing the bed in the bedroom was pulled open by a pair of slender white hands. Ling Chunwan's face was covered in dust, like a dirty little cat. Her beautiful big eyes were staring unblinkingly at the two of them on the bed. Zhuang Yu was wearing a dress with a high slit. At this moment, she was riding on the man's waist. Her hands had already unbuttoned Zhuang Hong's shirt and reached inside. Her originally red face collapsed the moment she saw Ling Chunwan. She stared at her in shock. How did you get out? Ling Chunwan was holding a small lock in her hand and curled her lips. It's a 9-grid lock. What's so difficult about it? I've been playing with this since I was young. With that, she threw the lock away and clapped her hands. You guys continue. I'm leaving. Nuanyuan. A man's muffled groan came from the bed. It was full of resentment. Ling Chunwan was slightly taken aback. She glanced at Zhuang Hong hesitantly. At this moment, he was pinned down by the woman and could not move. If she just left him like this, she was afraid that it would really be not very moral. After thinking for a while, Ling Chunwan pointed at the man under Zhuang Yu and said, Well, can I take him away? Zhuang Yu's face darkened and turned green. What do you think? Air. Ling Chunwan was so scared by Zhuang Yu's murderous gaze that her heart trembled. She swallowed her saliva and shrank her head as she said, Then you guys continue. I'm leaving. Just as he walked to the door, he heard a woman's scream behind him. He turned around and saw Zhuang Hong gasping for breath and standing up with the help of the bedpost. Zhuang Yu was thrown to the ground by him, screaming and not getting up for a long time. It seemed that she was seriously injured. Ling Chunwan. Zhuang Hong gritted his teeth and glared at her. He was so angry that he couldn't say a word. When Ling Chunwan saw this scene, she was not surprised at all. Instead, she blinked and ran over to help him up with an unrepentant look on her face. I knew that you wouldn't be weaker than her since you're so strong. Zhuang Hong was almost out of breath. He resisted the urge to spit out blood. After a while, he gritted his teeth and said, Let's go. The bodyguards outside the door were all from the Zhuang family, so no one dared to stop them. Ling Chunwan supported Zhuang Hong. It was not too late for her to turn around and inform the bodyguards at the door. That is the one inside your boss. Get a doctor to take a look. You were beaten up badly by him. You have to go to the hospital as soon as possible. Zhuang Hong was cursing in his heart. Who am I doing this for? That damned girl is pushing all the responsibility away. She is the good person. His future mother-in-law had once reminded him. At this moment, the words of his future mother-in-law were echoing in his ears. My Nuanyuan, that girl, was born with a bone in her brain. Coupled with the fact that she's been with that domineering brother of hers for so many years, she's timid and soft. She won't budge even when you hold her hand, and she'll retreat when you hit her. Those who can get along with her are extremely patient. You have to be mentally prepared. Thinking of the scene just now, Zhuang Hong only felt that the anger in his chest suppressed the effect of the drug. Ling Chunwan stopped a taxi by the roadside and stuffed Zhuang Hong, who had long limbs, into the car. Where are we going? Zhuang Hong was so angry that he was speechless. He threw out 2 words angrily. Anywhere. Ling Chunwan was stunned. She frowned and thought for a while. Mister, please go to number 68, Jintai Road in the suburbs. That's far away. It'll take an hour. Sorry to trouble you. The air in the car was stuffy. The sudden silence made it even more strange. Zhuang Hong resisted the discomfort in his body and opened the window a little. The warm June wind blew on his face, making him even more irritated. He simply closed the window again. When they arrived at the place to pay the bill, Ling Chunwan touched Zhuang Hong's body incessantly. "What are you doing?" Zhuang Hong growled. His eyes were red and he grabbed her hand. Ling Chunwan was stunned. "Give me the money. I don't have any money on me." The girl's body fragrance was exquisite in the car. Zhuang Hong closed his eyes and swallowed hard to disperse his restless emotions. He decisively took off the watch on his wrist and handed it to the driver. Then he gritted his teeth and dragged Ling Chunwan out of the car. Ling Chunwan brought Zhuang Hong to the old house of the Ling family. Different from the famous Lanjiang First Manor, this old house had a long history. It was a typical traditional Soviet-style garden building. It was named a key-protected building 5 years ago. Other than the caretaker who looked after the yard, no one else lived here. Looking at the notice board, Zhuang Hong's face was full of suspicion. "Can we get in?" "Of course. This is my home." Ling Chunwan dragged him all the way around the main gate. They went to the west door with a password lock and pressed a string of passwords. After 2 beeping sounds, the door opened automatically, revealing a winding path that led to a secluded place. "Let's go." Ling Chunwan wanted to reach out to help him, but Zhuang Hong avoided her. After entering the house, there were 2 arches that were about the height of a person. After that, it was a courtyard style. There were 2 walls that connected to the inside of the house, but the door was sealed with cement. Zhuang Hong looked around. It was not difficult to see that this exquisite and small courtyard was just a small corner of the big house. "That room is my brother's. You can stay there. It's very safe here. No one will dare to come here." The young girl's voice echoed in the courtyard. The sun was already setting in the west, and the sunset glow fell on her shoulders. Her figure was small and cute, and it complemented this small courtyard. Zhuang Hong did not dare to stay any longer. After entering the house, he found the bathroom and turned on the shower. The piercing cold water poured on his head, which relieved the heat in his body. After returning to a familiar place, Ling Chunwan let out a sigh of relief. She rushed into the kitchen and cooked a few of her favorite dishes. After wolfing them down, she remembered that there was a guest at home. After thinking for a few seconds, she reluctantly gave up her favorite chicken drumstick and cooked a bowl of noodles. Then, she covered the chicken drumstick and a few vegetables on the noodles and carried them into Zhuang Hong's room. When Ling Chunwan opened the door, she saw a scene that made her blood boil. Zhuang Hong stood at the entrance of the bathroom with a towel wrapped around his waist. His neat short hair was still dripping with water. The water droplets slid down his shoulders and onto his wheat-colored chest. With the rise and fall of his chest, it left a trail of traces that made people unable to help but have many fanciful thoughts. Ling Chunwan straightened her neck and pretended to be calm. "Well, I made you a bowl of noodles. Eat it while it's hot." Zhuang Hong saw that she looked like nothing had happened. He deliberately walked forward and slowly dried his hair. His biceps swayed in front of her. He even leaned over and said, "Have you eaten?" Chapter 575. Zhuang Hong's body was filled with the scent of shower gel. It was the scent of Westwood. Ling Chunwan was very familiar with this smell. Her elder brother, who was an iceberg with a stoic face, always had this smell on him. It was just that for as long as Ling Chunwan could remember, her elder brother, Gu Yao, always had a cold expression that kept others away. Therefore, this smell was very faint in her memory. Therefore, that scent, which was supposed to be faint and refreshing, had never been as strong as it was now. It was familiar yet unfamiliar. It was intimate yet domineering. Ling Chunwan was momentarily dazed. She stared blankly at the man who was approaching her, and actually forgot to avoid him. She looked at him with a pair of large, doe-like eyes, so clear that there was not a trace of impurity in them. Zhuang Hong was at a loss for what to do when she looked like she was at the mercy of others. This was the first time in his life that he had met such a woman. Or rather, the person in front of him could not even be considered a woman. She was just a little girl who had not yet lost her childishness. Facing those clear eyes, Zhuang Hong only felt his heart tremble inexplicably. His originally calm heart was now filled with ripples. He only felt that the person in front of him was exceptionally gentle. Just inches away, he lowered his head slightly and kissed her between her eyebrows. She trembled slightly. Her thick fan-like eyelashes brushed past his cheeks, and a numbing feeling spread throughout his body. The fire in Zhuang Hong's heart was suddenly aroused. He did not know if it was because the medicine was not completely washed away by cold water. But he suddenly could not help but lower his head and kiss the tip of her nose, covering her delicate lips. Ling Chunwan finally realized what she was facing. Her eyes suddenly widened. She tried to push his chest away with both hands, but the force that came from the back of her head and shoulders at the same time made her unable to move. A moan escaped from her lips, but it gave Zhuang Hong a greater opportunity to slide into the depths of her mouth. Hooking her fragrant tongue, the familiar teasing quickly put Ling Chunwan, a novice kisser, at a disadvantage. Her struggling movements gradually became soft and weak, and the strength she used to pat Zhuang Hong's back was more like a coquettish act, leading to wild and fanciful thoughts. Zhuang Hong's hand was very warm, so when it entered her dress, she didn't feel anything strange. It wasn't until the numbness at her waist became stronger that she suddenly woke up. She suddenly opened her eyes, and with a strength that she didn't know where she got it from, she pushed Zhuang Hong away and fled in panic. Zhuang Hong looked at the fleeing figure and licked the sweetness at the corner of his mouth. His eyes curved as he laughed wantonly. He suddenly felt that there was nothing wrong with this marriage. 10 years ago, the headquarters of the Zhuangyu Group moved to the capital and began to develop vigorously. At the age of 16, he was sent abroad to study by the third-generation chairman of the Zhuangyu Group, Zhuang Suqiu. He spent 5 years to complete all his studies abroad and returned to the country to take over the position of the vice president of the Zhuangyu Group. After returning to the country, the first thing his adoptive mother, Zhuang Suqiu, told him was not to take over the position of the vice president of the group, but his marriage contract. It was a marriage contract with the sister of Gu Yao, the president of the Huanyan Group, one of the biggest groups in the media industry, Ling Chunwan. The president of the Huanyan Group, Gu Yao, became famous at a young age. When he took over the group at the age of 12, it was already a big news for the entire media industry. For so many years, many people were waiting to see the Huanyan Group become a joke, but the Huanyan Group developed into the top position in the industry in the hands of that 12-year-old boy. Zhuang Hong didn't have any objection to this marriage. When he was adopted at the age of 6, he already had memories. His adoptive mother raised him like a new life, so he would absolutely obey Zhuang Suqiu's arrangement. But there were always people who were unwilling, such as his sister Zhuangyu. Zhuangyu was adopted earlier than him. When she was still a baby in swaddling clothes, she grew up by Zhuang Suqiu's side. For a long time, he thought that Zhuangyu was his adoptive mother's biological daughter, and he was just an adopted playmate from the orphanage to accompany the princess. In the face of this girl who was adopted like him, he had sad sympathy in his heart, but more of it was the affection of so many years. So, everything went along with her, and he really treated her as his own sister. But his feelings of affection were misinterpreted by Zhuangyu. So when she learned of the marriage contract, Zhuangyu had a big fight with Zhuang Suqiu at home. Even though she was grounded, she had sent out several groups of people to threaten and tempt him many times to refuse the marriage. Then, there was the incident of accidentally meeting Ling Chunwan in Mauritius. Zhuang Hong recalled the process of the two of them meeting until now, and recalled the feeling just now, with a smile on his face. On the other side, Ling Chunwan covered her mouth and ran back to her room. She locked the door with trembling, and then plunged into the quilt, covering her head with it. She didn't want to face the reality at all. What had just happened? She would just treat it as a dream and forget it. When she woke up tomorrow morning, this person would definitely not be here. Every time there was something that she couldn't solve, or felt that it was troublesome to solve, she always chose to escape. Fortunately, she had an omnipotent brother to protect her in the past 19 years. So no matter how big a mess she made, there was someone to help her clean up the mess. So, she was very lucky to escape these years. But this time, Gu Yao's phone couldn't be reached. Holding the phone and sitting on the bed in a daze, Ling Chunwan finally realized a serious problem. Gu Yao and Lu Jingru were still in the honeymoon period, so it was impossible for him to answer her call. She called 3 times in a row, but no one answered. Finally, she gave up and angrily covered her head with the quilt. After a while, she slowly pulled it down and stared blankly at the ceiling. What should I do? Mauritius, Africa. Lu Jingru put sunscreen on her face and glanced at the phone on the dressing table that finally stopped ringing. She turned back and asked, "You're really not answering the phone? What if Nguyen really has something urgent to talk to you about?" Gu Yao was sitting on a rattan chair on the balcony, facing the sea, holding a financial newspaper of the day, with his back to the room. If she really needs it, I can take care of her for the rest of her life, but I think before that, there should be other possibilities in her life. The possibility you're talking about is Zhuang Hong? Do you really feel safe letting him live with your sister alone? He has a good character. How do you know? I've never been wrong about people. Hey! Lu Jingru rolled her eyes contemptuously and walked behind Gu Yao with her arms crossed. Her aquamarine neckline chiffon dress fluttered in the wind, like a floating daffodil. When are you going to change your bad habit of talking to yourself? There are thousands of people you like. How can your sister like all of them? How can you force a duck to a perch? Gu Yao still looked down at his newspaper and replied casually, "There are only a few people I like." Then I'm really flattered. Hearing this, Gu Yao's expression slightly froze. After a while, the corners of his mouth curved into a thought-provoking smile. Chapter 576. The moment he looked up, Lu Jingru grabbed the newspaper in his hand, hooked her arms around his neck, and slid into his arms. She looked up at him with a smile. "You read the newspaper every day. What's so interesting about it?" Gu Yao was afraid that she would fall, so he had one hand under her body to hold her shoulder. At this moment, he helplessly patted her twice, his eyes full of affection. "Stop fooling around. I'm almost done reading." "Who's fooling around? Are you here to accompany me on our honeymoon? Or to accompany your newspaper on our honeymoon? Don't be unreasonable. I'm just fooling around." Lu Jingru knew Gu Yao's temper well, so she casually threw the newspaper into the nearby trash can. Gu Yao only felt his throat tighten a little. He narrowed his eyes at the woman in his arms and said in a tight voice, "If you keep fooling around, you might not be able to go snorkeling by the beach later." "Why?" "Because you can't get out of bed." Before Lu Jingru could figure out the meaning of these words, she suddenly let out a cry of surprise. The sea breeze blew, and the tall figure was particularly refreshing under the afternoon sun. The two figures threw themselves on the bed, and the shirt with the coconut tree printed on it slid from the bedside to the floor. The wave-like blue skirt and black G-string were tangled together into a ball. Gu Yao pressed Lu Jingru under his body, as if he was admiring a piece of art. He narrowed his eyes slightly, but was not in a hurry to make a move. The corners of his mouth curled up, and his hands stroked her waist, causing her to feel limp and numb. His scorching gaze was unbearable for anyone. Lu Jingru bit her lip. Every time she thought about how Gu Yao liked to stare at her with this kind of mischievous gaze, until her face turned red before he was willing to get down to business, she was full of resentment. Thinking of this, Lu Jingru suddenly met his mischievous gaze and deliberately provoked him. "What? Are you bragging too early? Why don't I pretend I didn't hear you and pack up our things, so we can go snorkeling?" Gu Yao was not one to be goaded into action. Hearing this, he just stared at her faintly and saw through her thoughts. "Who do you think will be the first to beg for mercy today?" Lu Jingru poked at his chest and said a few words. "I can't do it in terms of number of times, but you can't do it in terms of endurance. In other words, if you have the ability, you can only do it once but don't stop." Any man would fly into a rage if he heard such words from a woman he had stripped naked and pressed under his body. However, Gu Yao did not show any displeasure. One of his hands rubbed over the familiar sensitive spot, while his slender fingers explored her waist and abdomen. His eyes were full of meaning. "Really? It seems like I've made you misunderstand something tonight, Mrs. Gu." Before he could finish his sentence, Lu Jingru let out a muffled groan as she felt her lower body tighten. Half an hour later, Lu Jingru clutched the bedsheets and was about to cry. During this time, Gu Yao did not even change his position. He separated her legs and went in and out of her body tirelessly. The bedsheets under her were flooded with water, and all kinds of unknown liquids kept flowing out. It was extremely embarrassing. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore, Gu Yao. Gu Yao. So you want to take back what you said just now? I'll take it back, okay. Lu Jingru panted continuously. Her snow-white breasts were like waves that trembled with the movements of the fingers under her body. Gu Yao increased his speed. Finally, at a certain moment, Lu Jingru screamed at the top of her lungs. After trembling for a few seconds, she collapsed on the pillow, drenched in sweat, and the bedsheets glistened. The fifth time, Gu Yao wiped his hands on the bedsheets, then laid down beside Lu Jingru with his head propped up. He looked at her from the side, his eyes full of mischief. Mrs. Gu, are you satisfied? Lu Jingru finally regained her senses. She gripped the bedsheets and gritted her teeth hatefully. She muttered as she gasped for breath. You're using a cheat code. After saying this, she did not hear a response for a long time. A sense of danger circled in her mind. Lu Jingru slowly turned her head and looked at the man beside her. Sure enough, she met a pair of thoughtful eyes. Then, for the entire afternoon, Lu Jingru begged Gu Yao for mercy no less than hundreds of times. Trouble comes from the mouth. With this one sentence, Gu Yao firmly believed that Lu Jingru was truly dissatisfied with his performance in bed. So, he spent the entire afternoon proving that in terms of endurance, whether he used a cheat code or not, he could make her want to die. And the matter of the cheat code was just flirting. The night gilded the coast of Mauritius with a layer of golden light. It was soft, clear, and romantic. When the housekeeping department came to change the bedsheets, Lu Jingru hid in the bathroom to take a shower. She wished she could bury her head in the water, but her body was too heavy, so she could only let a certain someone play with her. The snorkeling plan went according to Gu Yao's plan. After taking a shower, she changed into comfortable pajamas. The two sat on the tatami and watched the sunset. There were all kinds of dishes on the coffee table. Lu Jingru was starving. She wolfed down a bunch of food, not caring about her image as a superstar. Gu Yao frowned and pushed the juice in front of her. Eat slowly. Can it taste good when you mix it with the sweet? Anyway, it's all mixed together in the stomach. What's there to be picky about? Lu Jingru had always liked to hear Gu Yao sing the opposite tune. She had been singing it for 25 years and never got tired of it. The two argued with each other for a while, and then talked about their brothers and sisters at home. After the wedding, the news of Lu Nanzhou's confession to Gu Yuechen was spread throughout the circle of relatives and friends by Song Yinma, the big mouth. I always thought that Nuanyuan would be with Nanzhou. I didn't expect that Nanzhou likes Chun. Lu Jingru laughed at herself. I thought I could be closer to your family. Gu Yao took a sip of tea and said lightly, Nanzhou and Chun can be considered closer. Gu Yuechen was the eldest daughter of the Four Seasons Villa. She was Gu Yao's cousin, and Lu Jingrou's biological brother. If he could be with Gu Yao's cousin, the two families would still be closer. This was not wrong. I still think it's a pity. I like Nuanyuan. Chun is too headstrong. Nanzhou is not suitable for Nuanyuan. Gu Yao and Lu Jingru had always been straightforward. At this moment, they did not care that Lu Nanzhou was her biological brother. Hearing this, Lu Jingru was slightly stunned. She was not in a hurry to refute. She only pondered for a few seconds and then nodded. That's true. Nanzhou has never been a proactive person. No one could tell that he likes Chun after so many years. He hid it very well. I don't know what happened this time that forced him to do something. Nuanyuan is not very suitable. In the beginning of a relationship, one side always had to take the initiative. She knew her own brother's character best. Lu Nanzhou was the complete opposite of her since they were born. He was introverted, shy, and stubborn. Ling Chunwan was also a person who would not walk away even if she held hands. These two people looked harmonious, but in reality, they could not be together on the road of love. Let's not talk about Nanzhou. What about Nuanyuan? Are you really going to hand her over to Zhuang Hong so casually? Gu Yao put down the teacup in his hand and said meaningfully, how can I just casually hand my little sister over to someone else when she was brought up by me? Chapter 577. Ling Chunwan's worries couldn't overcome her drowsiness. Good sleeping habits were cultivated by her tyrant brother. She would definitely feel sleepy at 10 o'clock in the morning, and she would definitely wake up before 7 o'clock in the morning. After getting up, Ling Chunwan sneaked into Zhuang Hong's room and peeped through the window. She didn't find anything, so she tried to turn the door handle and found that the door wasn't locked. She opened the door and saw that the quilt was folded neatly. The room was so clean that it was as if no one had lived in it, except for a bowl on the coffee table that was clean but not washed. It was the noodles that Ling Chunwan brought last night. There was no one in the room, and there was no one outside. Ling Chunwan stood at the kitchen door and had a bold idea. He must have left. After all, he was a man and the vice president of the company. The company wasn't in Lanjiang City, so he must be in a hurry to go back. Thinking of this, her mood suddenly brightened. She went into the kitchen and hummed a song while making a few sesame glutinous rice balls. Because she usually had to prepare Gu Yao's share, she didn't pay attention and made 2 portions. After eating 1 portion, she took the rest out of the pot and put it on the small kitchen table with a thermal cover. She was going to save it for supper. After breakfast, Ling Chunwan checked the refrigerator and wrote down the missing items on a sticky note. Then she took the woven bag hanging at the kitchen door and happily went out to the supermarket to buy. There was a small farmer's market near the old house. It wasn't big, but the dishes were very fresh. Probably because it was in the suburbs, the merchants bought vegetables from their own vegetable gardens. The people here also knew Ling Chunwan and greeted her warmly when they saw her. Oh, Nuanyuan, you haven't been here for a while. My brother got married, so I was busy for a while. Ling Chunwan also explained with a smile. She put a few eggplants and carrots in a box and handed it to the boss. Aunt Wu, how much is it? 10 yuan and 90 cents. Just give me 10 yuan. Ling Chunwan smiled and handed over 10 yuan. Aunt Wu is beautiful and kind. Only you have such a sweet mouth. Even my daughter doesn't know how to talk as well as you. The fat boss of the grain and oil store was standing at the entrance of the store with a bowl of noodles in his hand. He waved at Ling Chunwan and said, Nuanyuan, today's eggs are fresh from the chicken farm. Do you want to pick a few? Uncle Wang, can I trouble you to give me 20? I want to go over there to look at the fish. Okay, go ahead, girl. After you're done, you can come to me to get it. Everyone in the market liked Ling Chunwan, and Ling Chunwan also liked to come here. She liked the noise here. She liked to watch the people here fight. She liked to watch the nearby residents haggle for a few cents. She didn't have big dreams. In the past, Gu Yao had asked her what she wanted to do in the future. Since she was young, she didn't dare to lie to Gu Yao, so she told him honestly, I want to set up a vegetable stall. It was rare that her brother, who had always been arrogant, did not snort at her. He calmly patted her head. There was no ridicule or contempt in his eyes. Instead, there was a trace of worry. It's a little difficult. It was a little difficult. She was the second daughter of the Huanyan Corporation, the younger sister of the legendary young man Gu Yao, the daughter of the world-famous director and screenwriter Yi Huanyan, the granddaughter of the jewelry designer Wen Yi and the stock god Gu Ling. Any one of her family members was famous in the industry, although the whole family didn't care much about her. How could they allow her to be a vegetable stall? She could be mediocre and useless. She could be the second daughter of a good-for-nothing. But she would never have the opportunity to do a hard and unprofitable business at the bottom. When she returned home, she returned with a full load. Ling Chunwan held the big black fish on a straw rope in one hand, and the woven bag full of fruits in the other. She hummed along the way, entered the door, and went straight to the kitchen. The big black fish was thrown into a tank filled with water, and the rest of the fruits were placed into various small baskets on the kitchen counter. After washing them, a kitchen knife was used nimbly and freely in her hands, and very soon, the red and green side dishes were neatly arranged. In front of her, 7 small bowls were lined up in a row. The side dishes were all ready, and they were waiting for 10 o'clock to be ready for lunch. Ling Chunwan took off her apron and put it aside. She wiped her hands and glanced at the dining table from the corner of her eyes. Suddenly she was stunned. The bowl of glutinous rice balls on the table, which was supposed to be in the thermal insulation, was placed neatly next to the thermal insulation. It was empty, and there was a porcelain spoon in the bowl. She had only eaten 1 bowl in the morning. This bowl. Did she see a ghost? Ling Chunwan suddenly picked up the kitchen knife and looked around vigilantly. Her eyes finally fell in the direction of the kitchen door. Looking from the window, the sound of flushing outside came from Gu Yao's room. Ling Chunwan was stunned for a few seconds. She didn't even need to think to know that Zhuang Hong hadn't left at all. She frowned. The relaxed and happy atmosphere just now disappeared completely. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. If she could tolerate it, what else could she do? Zhuang Hong, I think we should talk. Ling Chunwan knocked on Zhuang Hong's door. The sound of rushing water stopped abruptly. She knew that Zhuang Hong was listening, so she continued. It's like this. I think that there is a difference between men and women. Moreover, you have your own things to do, and I have mine. So shouldn't you consider leaving early? There was no movement in the room at all. Zhuang Hong, I'm coming in. She thought that Zhuang Hong didn't hear her clearly, so she opened the door and carefully walked in. She had just taken 2 steps when a shadow covered her from behind. Before she could react, her mouth and nose were suddenly covered by someone. The feeling of suffocation became stronger and stronger. A huge force tightened around her shoulders. She wanted to struggle, but she didn't have the strength to do so at all. In a panic, she kicked hard and knocked over the floor lamp on the sofa. There was a loud crash, and the sound of glass shattering echoed in the room. Nuanyuan. There was a sound of footsteps in the courtyard, accompanied by a familiar voice mixed with some doubts. It was Zhuang Hong's voice. Ling Chunwan widened her eyes and struggled desperately, as if she had found a life-saving straw. The thief was obviously scared. With a flash of cold light, he pulled out a knife and pointed it at her neck. He lowered his voice and said, If you want to live, do as I say. There was a cold feeling on her neck. Ling Chunwan's face was pale. She looked in the direction of the door in panic and nodded dejectedly. Don't let him in. The knife pressed against her delicate skin, and a fierce voice sounded in her ears. Outside the door, Zhuang Hong had already walked to the door. Just as he was about to open the door, his figure was reflected in the frosted door. He was tall and strong. You don't come in. A trembling voice interrupted his action of opening the door. Zhuang Hong was slightly stunned. Nuanyuan? What's wrong? Chapter 578. I'm fine. Ling Chunwan's voice came from inside the room. You should leave. This is my home, not yours. Don't leave. Zhuang Hong's expression changed slightly, and his hand fell from the door handle. Nuanyuan, do you hate me? There was silence for a few seconds, and then a sentence came from inside the door. Quite. Through the door, Ling Chunwan's face was pale. She could almost see Zhuang Hong's every movement as he turned around to leave, and the sound of his footsteps gradually faded away. There was a cold and sticky sensation on her neck, and it flowed into her collar. Can you let me go now? She asked with a trembling voice. The man behind her breathed a sigh of relief, and tied Ling Chunwan's hands behind her back with a rope. He found a ball of cloth and stuffed it into her mouth, and then threw her on the bed. Ling Chunwan's head hit the headboard of the bed, and she saw stars. Because her mouth was stuffed, she couldn't say a word, and could only groan. The man glared at her fiercely, and said through the mask, Shut up. Ling Chunwan didn't dare to make a sound. After a while, the man turned the room upside down. Ling Chunwan carefully sized up the man from the corner of her eyes. Only then did she notice that this man was not very tall. He was about 1.75 meters tall. He was thin, had a crew cut, and wore a mask. Perhaps he was afraid that others would remember his appearance. His pair of evasive eyes looked very wretched. Ling Chunwan frowned when she saw that he had been rummaging through the things. In fact, she wanted to tell him that the value of the things in this courtyard wouldn't be more than 1,000 yuan. This was all because Gu Yao was cautious and didn't want to show off his wealth. After the room was turned into a mess, the man didn't show the slightest annoyance because he didn't find anything. Instead, he walked towards Ling Chunwan. From the moment the man grabbed her collar, she finally realized what he was going to do. She struggled with all her might, making whimpering sounds. The man straddled her waist and tore open her collar impatiently. A few buttons on his shirt were undone and were bouncing around the room. A huge fear engulfed Ling Chunwan. She had never been humiliated like this in the past 19 years. In her panic, she even forgot to cry. She just struggled on the bed with reddened eyes. With a loud bang, sawdust and dust flew in the room. A figure rushed in from outside the door like a flash of lightning. Before Ling Chunwan could see clearly, the man on top of her was swept away. Accompanied by a series of tragic screams, the man's face was already badly mutilated. Zhuang Hong's eyes were filled with an ominous glint. He channeled all of his hostility into his fists and punched the shifty-eyed man. At first, the man was on the ground kowtowing and begging for mercy. Later, his mouth was full of blood and he fainted from the beating. He fell to the ground and kept twitching. That scene was shocking to see. Ling Chunwan shrank in the corner of the bed, her face full of fear. She opened her eyes wide and wanted to say something, but the cloth in her mouth made her unable to speak. Whoa! His violent actions finally stopped. His hand that was stained with blood hovered in the air before slowly falling down. He turned around and looked at the girl on the bed. Her hair was messy. The sweet and cute bun on her head was now loose and draped over her shoulders. Her face was pale. There was blood on the corner of her mouth, staining the white cloth. Zhuang Hong's heart sank. He quickly got up and walked to the bed. He took the cloth out of her mouth and asked carefully, "Does it hurt anywhere?" Ling Chunwan shook her head. The fear in her eyes made people's hearts ache. Zhuang Hong lowered his head and untied the rope on her without saying a word. If he didn't feel Ling Chunwan's tone just now was not right, he wouldn't have turned back. If he didn't turn back, all of this would be unimaginable. After the rope was untied, Ling Chunwan's body trembled slightly. She seemed to have finally realized what kind of disaster she had just experienced. Her face was full of disbelief. Zhuang Hong pulled the trembling Ling Chunwan into his arms. "Don't be afraid, Nuanyuan, I'm here." Ling Chunwan finally couldn't hold it in anymore. She lay in Zhuang Hong's warm arms and cried loudly. She didn't know how long she cried. There was a gentle pat on her shoulder, and his clear and gentle voice in her ear. It's okay. Later, the man with the short hair who tried to molest Ling Chunwan was taken to the hospital's ambulance by the district police called by Zhuang Hong. It was said that he broke 12 bones in his body. It would be difficult for him to live a normal life for the rest of his life. Ling Chunwan didn't have the heart to ask why the man came to the old house. She had always been carefree. When the police took the man away, she had already changed into a clean set of clothes. The wound on her neck had also been treated by Zhuang Hong. Although she was still hiding behind Zhuang Hong, she didn't look frightened anymore. Seeing that there was nothing for her to do, she simply rolled up her sleeves and went into the kitchen to prepare lunch. No matter what happened, no matter when, no matter what happened, could stop her from cooking. "Mr. Zhuang, we've checked. This man is a habitual thief. He has a criminal record in the police station. He has just been released for half a month, and now he's causing trouble again. I'm really sorry. This time we'll take him back and lock him up for a while." The police who came to the scene to record knew the background of the people who lived in the old house. When they received the call that there was an accident, they were so scared that they almost peed their pants. The chief almost flipped the table over. The patrol team, who was responsible for patrolling the old house, that day naturally received a heavy punishment. Although the police's attitude was good, Zhuang Hong didn't buy it. He coldly glanced at the house where the accident happened. "He's not here to steal. I think I've made it clear enough. There was nothing valuable in the house. If he just wanted to steal, he wouldn't have deliberately messed up a pile of clothes to leave evidence. Besides, his real target was Ling Chunwan in the end. Maybe it's because he didn't find anything valuable, so he decided to do it on the spur of the moment." Zhuang Hong's cold eyes scared the little policeman, and he didn't dare to speculate anymore. He had to change the topic. We'll carefully examine the situation. We'll definitely give you a satisfactory answer. After the police left, Zhuang Hong wanted to go to the kitchen to see Ling Chunwan. But before he could take 2 steps, he received a call from Gu Yao. On the other end of the phone, his future brother-in-law's tone was very calm, but it made people shudder. Zhuang Hong, it seems that I made a wrong decision to hand Nuanyuan over to you. Everything in Lanjiang City, even if Gu Yao was far away in Mauritius, was still under his control. Zhuang Hong was very calm and said calmly, I'll find out what happened. I'll find out what's going on. Also, if you hadn't handed Nuanyuan over to me, you'd regret it even more. If I didn't hand her over to you, in my arrangement, there are people who will take care of her. At least in the past 19 years, I've never let her experience what happened today. Zhuang Hong frowned and was speechless for a moment. I'll only give you half a month. If Nuanyuan has no interest in you, you can leave. Chapter 579. Impossible. Are you saying that it's impossible that Nuanyuan doesn't like you, or that it's impossible for me to ask you to leave? Both are impossible. It's good to be confident, but don't try to be smart. It's very easy for me to find out what happened today. Zhuang Hong's expression slightly froze. After hanging up the phone, he stood in front of the door for a long time. The door fell down, and the inside of the house was now a mess. In order to protect the scene, no cleaning was done. There was a large pool of blood by the bed. Ling Chunwan opened the kitchen curtain and saw the back of the figure in the yard. It's time to eat. There were 3 dishes and 1 soup. Ling Chunwan had always been good at cooking. Zhuang Hong usually didn't care much about eating, but he particularly valued the food cooked by Ling Chunwan. Ling Chunwan stared at him dumbfounded. She watched as he ate 2 bowls of rice. Do you want to eat another bowl? She asked hesitantly. Yes. Zhuang Hong nodded. Ling Chunwan sucked in a breath of cold air and muttered as she scooped the rice. Your appetite is much bigger than my brother's. I'll have to increase the portion when I cook next time. After lunch, Zhuang Hong took the initiative to wash the dishes, and Ling Chunwan washed the strawberries beside him. It was the strawberry season, and the red and bright strawberries were churning in the basin. Brother's room is probably not suitable for people for the time being. I'll clean up the room opposite mine later. You can live there. Ling Chunwan's room was the main hall of the courtyard. The main hall faced the south, and there was a separate room on both sides of the door. It was separated from the main hall by a carved wooden door. Do you want strawberries? Ling Chunwan raised her hand and handed a red strawberry to Zhuang Hong's mouth. Zhuang Hong slightly turned his head and felt a cold touch on his lips. He was slightly stunned, and his eyes fell on Ling Chunwan's bright smile. When she smiled, there were 2 small dimples at the corner of her mouth, and her eyes were curved. She was very cute. No matter how he looked at her, she was just a little girl who had not yet lost her childishness. She could not be considered a great beauty, but her eyes were extremely lively. He opened his mouth and stuffed the red strawberry into his mouth. It was very sweet. The fragrance of the strawberry melted between her lips and teeth. Her fingers grasped the strawberry leaves as she reminded him. Take a bite. The leaves haven't been plucked. A ripple suddenly appeared in his heart. He put the strawberry into his mouth and sucked on her finger. She was obviously stunned, and there was a moment of panic. She pulled back her fingers, lowered her head, and soaked her hands in the basin of water used to wash strawberries, not saying a word. Zhuang Hong was much taller than her. At this moment he was looking down at her from above. He could see the little accessory on her head that was tied up in a bun. It was in the shape of a small yellow face. He could see the strands of hair fluttering around her ears. Her fair skin, small nose bridge, and slightly pursed lips were visible. Ling Chunwan was very timid. This was different from the other people of the same age, in his impression of the Ling and Gu families. The Gu family was headed by Gu Xinian, the daughter of Gu Yuechen, who was now a tycoon in the overseas hotel industry. Including the young masters and young ladies of the Gu family, they were all domineering young masters and young ladies of the Gu family. The Ling family was headed by the current head of the Huanying Corporation, Gu Yao. Because he became the head of the corporation at the age of 12, he could be considered the boss of this group of people in Lanjiang City. He brought about a group of hedonistic people. People outside said that this group of second and third generation heirs of the Ling and Gu families did not dare to do anything other than murder and arson. In fact, in Zhuang Hong's eyes, the outside world still had a certain misconception about the hedonistic people of these two families. After all, they dared to do anything, including murder and arson. Therefore, Ling Chunwan was an accident. She was a pure and innocent person who emerged from the mud without being stained. She was a good match that fell from the sky in what he thought was a boring political marriage. It was just that she was too slow and too timid. It seemed that she had never considered the matter of the marriage agreement with him. After dinner, Ling Chunwan dawdled in the living room. Her eyelids were already fighting to stay open, but she still had no intention of going back to her room to sleep. Zhuang Hong put down his teacup and glanced at his wrist. It's 10 o'clock. Aren't you going to sleep? Ling Chunwan blinked and yawned. It's 10 o'clock. It's okay. I'm not sleepy. I want to sit for a while more. It seemed like it was going to rain heavily outside. The leaves rustled in the wind, and it seemed like there were people moving around. Zhuang Hong stood up and wanted to see if the bedroom window was closed. Just as he stood up, Ling Chunwan suddenly sat up and asked anxiously, "Where are you going?" He was slightly stunned. "Close the window." Ling Chunwan's stiff expression eased a little. "Oh, you're not sleepy yet, right? You're not in a hurry to sleep, right?" Zhuang Hong saw something in her eyes and smiled. "I'm not sleepy. I'm used to sleeping late at night." "Oh, me too." Hearing this, Zhuang Hong's eyes flashed with a helpless smile. A person who went to bed on time before 10 o'clock every night said that she was used to sleeping late. This was not a clever lie. After closing the window and coming out of the bedroom, Zhuang Hong saw Ling Chunwan hugging a pillow and dozing off on the sofa. His heart ached for her. He walked up to her, but she did not wake up. He stood there for a few seconds and decided to carry her back to the bedroom to sleep. Ling Chunwan was very light. She was 1.65 meters tall, but she seemed to weigh about 90 kilograms. Her thin shoulders and small collarbone were partly visible under her collar. Zhuang Hong lifted the quilt and covered her shoulders. When he was about to leave, the person on the bed suddenly grabbed his hand in a daze. "Don't go." Zhuang Hong turned around and heard her mumbling, "Brother, it's thunder." It had just started to rain outside the window. The sound of the rain hitting the window was pitter-patter. The thunder had not yet subsided. A dim yellow light was on in the room, illuminating the figure on the bed particularly softly. At this moment, Zhuang Hong felt as if his heart was full. Thinking of Gu Yao's warning, his heart could not help but tighten. He sat by the bed and gently combed the hair on Ling Chunwan's forehead to one side. He had never wished more than at this moment that this innocent girl would not be so dense. "Don't let me wait too long, little girl. Your brother did not give me too much time." On the coast of Mauritius, Lu Jingru stepped barefoot on the beach, followed by Gu Yao. He was wearing a white shirt and gray loose trousers, which fluttered in the sea breeze. He was carrying 2 pairs of shoes in his hands, looking very leisurely. "You gave Zhuang Hong half a month's time. What can he do in half a month? Don't be cornered by him, and take extreme measures. That's your sister. What do you think he dares to do? What can a single man and woman do? Believe it or not, if he dares to do that, Nuanyuan will definitely run away." "Is Nuanyuan that cowardly?" "Very cowardly. But you still did it. You deliberately don't want to give Zhuang Hong a way out. Since you don't want them to cultivate their relationship, why do you give people hope? You know that what happened yesterday has nothing to do with Zhuang Hong." Gu Yao frowned and said seriously, "But I just got the news that there are some internal problems in the Zhuang Yu group. I want to see if he cares more about his career or Nuanyuan." Chapter 580. Gu Yao had high hopes for Zhuang Hong. So far, there were only a handful of people whom he had high hopes for. But as Lu Jingru had said, he hadn't known Zhuang Hong for long, so he didn't know what kind of person he was. Other things weren't important, but it was very important to him to know how his brother-in-law placed his sister in his heart. When Ling Chunwan woke up, it was already 7 o'clock the next morning. The biological clock of waking up at 7 o'clock was a powerful existence. She wanted to sleep a little longer, but when she closed her eyes, she felt that she was holding something in her hand. She was so scared that she shook it away and shrunk back to the bed. A muffled groan came from beside the bed. She saw that Zhuang Hong was sitting on the carpet. He had been lying beside her, but now that she had woken him up, he sat up straight. There was a dazed look in his eyes, as if he had slept the whole night. "Why are you here?" Ling Chunwan hugged the blanket, looking alert. Zhuang Hong frowned. "You don't remember?" Ling Chunwan was stunned. She didn't remember what happened last night, and she didn't even remember when she went to bed. She only remembered that she slept very well last night. The rain outside the window had stopped, probably because it had just stopped. She could still hear the sound of water dripping from the eaves to the ground. There was thunder, and you had a nightmare. You pulled me and didn't let me go. You really don't remember? Ling Chunwan's mouth twitched, as if she wanted to deny it, but after stuttering for a long time, she still spat out a few words. "Sorry." Zhuang Hong rubbed her hair and smiled. "It's okay, I'm happy." Ling Chunwan shrank back, but didn't have time to avoid his hand. When he messed up her hair, she watched as he walked out of her bedroom. His tall and slender figure was very pleasing to the eye. He seemed to be a little taller than Brother Nanzhou, Ling Chunwan thought to herself. After breakfast, Ling Chunwan wandered around the courtyard. The sky cleared up after the rain. It was much more refreshing outside, reducing the sultry summer heat. There was a water lily tank in the courtyard, which was in full bloom at the moment. There were 5 or 6 carps swimming happily in it. She had fish food in her hand, and when she sprinkled a handful of it, the 5 or 6 small fishes swam over to snatch the food. She smiled particularly freely. Zhuang Hong was reading a newspaper in the living room. The door was facing the water tank. Through the bamboo curtain, he could clearly see Ling Chunwan's figure and hear a string of bell-like laughter. The phone on the table suddenly rang. When he saw the caller ID, Zhuang Hong's expression changed slightly. Zhuang Yu's voice came from the phone. "It's Mom's birthday this weekend. You'll be back, right?" "I don't have time now. I'll explain it to Mom at the end of the month." "Brother, are you crazy? You are the vice president of the Zhuang Yu group. If you don't come back, who will receive the guests? Mom is old. Do you know what she's planning to do at this birthday party? She will definitely announce who will take over the position of chairman of the Zhuang Yu group in the future. You must come back. You think too much. It's not that easy for Mom to announce who will inherit the Zhuang Yu group. There will always be a board of directors to vote. To put it bluntly, you just don't want to come back. For that girl who's still wet behind the ears, have you lost your mind? Do you know that there's a serious financial problem in the group now?" "I know." Zhuang Hong raised his head and glanced at the door. The girl's smile was particularly dazzling under the sun. "I'll solve it." "How are you going to solve it?" "By relying on that girl? This is my own problem." Zhuang Hong. Hearing the hysterical voice on the phone, Zhuang Hong hung up the phone without hesitation, got up and walked out of the door. "Do you want to go out for a walk?" Ling Chunwan heard the voice behind her. She turned around and saw Zhuang Hong standing at the door. He lifted the curtain with one hand and was looking at her. "The weather is very good. The lotus flowers in the nearby park have bloomed. Do you want to go and have a look?" Ling Chunwan's face broke into a smile and nodded seriously. "Okay." The nearby buildings were all old, and the only park was also a famous scenic spot. It was summer vacation now, so there was an endless stream of tourists. After Ling Chunwan was squeezed twice, Zhuang Hong held her hand tightly. "There are a lot of people. Follow me." The weather was hot, and her palms were sweaty. Ling Chunwan wanted to pull her hand back, but she failed several times. She pouted and let him do as he pleased. "You should come here often, right?" Ling Chunwan shook her head. "Not often. My brother said that the outside world is very dangerous." "Did your brother say the same thing to the other siblings?" "Yes. But I heard that your other siblings seem to like to play outside." Hearing this, Ling Chunwan was stunned. She lowered her head and didn't know what to say. Zhuang Hong didn't ask any more questions. Instead, he changed the topic. Do you have a good relationship with the eldest daughter of the Four Seasons Villa? Chun is my cousin. Of course, we have a good relationship. That day at the wedding, the boy who confessed to her is the one you like? Before he finished speaking, Zhuang Hong clearly felt his hand stiffen. No, Brother Nanzhou is just a very good brother. Zhuang Hong lowered his head to look at Ling Chunwan. From her slightly trembling eyelashes, he could see the panic in her heart. He suddenly felt a little irritated and squeezed her hand tightly. The moment she raised her head, he said in a deep voice, "You don't know how to lie." Ling Chunwan's hand hurt a little from being squeezed. She couldn't help but frown. "I didn't. Don't lie in front of me in the future." His commanding tone made Ling Chunwan reveal a somewhat stunned expression. She looked at him blankly. Zhuang Hong just glanced at her indifferently and continued to lead her forward. Along the way, there were lotus ponds. 10 miles of lotus flowers were in full bloom. However, there were so many tourists that it was very difficult to stop and enjoy the scenery. Not all tourists would walk to the end of the 10 miles long road. Most of them turned back halfway to the next scenic spot. After walking for half of the distance, the surrounding crowd obviously decreased. But Zhuang Hong didn't seem to have any intention of letting go of his hand. Ling Chunwan only felt like a child being pulled by an elder. Her heart was full of helplessness. She was not in the mood to enjoy the scenery at all. The phone suddenly rang, giving her enough reason to break free from Zhuang Hong's hand. She looked at Zhuang Hong apologetically, waved the still flashing phone, and then ran to the willow tree by the shore to answer the phone. Because she didn't look at the caller ID, she was still stunned when she heard the voice on the other end of the phone. "Brother Nanzhou." Lu Nanzhou's voice was very clear. He asked directly, "Nuanyuan, aren't you at home? Why is there no one in the courtyard? Hey, what's going on in Brother Gu Yao's room? You're in the courtyard?" Ling Chunwan almost bit her tongue. "I just arrived. I came with Chun. When are you coming back?" This time, she really bit her tongue. Ling Chunwan was in so much pain that she cried. She stuttered for a long time. I'll be back later." Chapter 581. After strolling around the park for a while, Ling Chunwan rushed back. It was obvious who had called her. Zhuang Hong's face was gloomy all the way, but Ling Chunwan was so careless that she didn't notice it at all. She even urged him to leave quickly. "Why are you in such a hurry?" "I'm in a hurry." Ling Chunwan looked back at him, still in a hurry. "Brother Nanzhou's room hasn't been cleaned yet. I'll go back and dry the quilt before it gets dark. Doesn't he like your cousin? Why are you so excited? Does he appreciate it?" Ling Chunwan suddenly stopped in her tracks. Perhaps it was because it had been too long since Gu Yao and Lu Jingrou's wedding, or perhaps it was because her self-healing ability was too strong. If not for Zhuang Hong's reminder, she would have almost forgotten the scene that day. "Why aren't you walking? Did I hit the nail on the head? Did you forget the pain after the scar healed? Does it hurt now?" Zhuang Hong was flustered when he saw her like this. He did not say anything nice. "Can you not mention this when you see Brother Nanzhou later?" Ling Chunwan suddenly looked up at him. Zhuang Hong frowned and clenched his fists. He walked into the house without looking back and said, "I'm not that free." When he walked into the courtyard, he saw Lu Nanzhou standing next to the water lily tank. He was holding a box of fish food and looked relaxed. Zhuang Hong walked behind him and went back to his room without looking at him. He heard footsteps and looked back. He only saw Zhuang Hong's back as he entered the house. Ling Chunwan caught up and jogged over. "Brother Nanzhou." Lu Nanzhou looked at Ling Chunwan and smiled. "You're back. I called someone to fix the house. They should be here soon." Ling Chunwan nodded. "Brother Nanzhou, why are you here? What's the matter?" "I'm here to accompany Chen." These words made Ling Chunwan's expression change slightly. The sound of the door opening behind them explained everything. The door of the guest room, facing the east of the courtyard, opened. Gui Wechen was standing at the door in a bohemian-style gray-brown spaghetti strap dress. She was only 1 year older than Ling Chunwan, but she was already very charming. Ling Chunwan's eyes lowered 2 inches. She stood there and did not know what to say. "Nuanyuan." Gui Wechen walked towards her with an awkward expression on his face. It was a stark contrast to his usual fiery temper. I called you. I heard from Brother Gu yesterday, so I was worried, so I came to take a look. I'm fine. Ling Chunwan pursed her lips. Well, you haven't eaten yet, right? I'm going to see if there's enough food in the kitchen. If not, I'll have to go to the supermarket. In fact, the food in the kitchen was just bought. The refrigerator was full. It would not be a problem to eat for half a month. Nuanyuan. Gu Yuechen's voice came from behind. Yes, I'm with Nanzhou. Ling Chunwan was about to turn around, but when she heard this, she turned her head back and whispered, Oh, I know. After saying this, she went into the kitchen. Gu Yuechen stood there with a complicated expression. Chen, come and see. There seem to be 2 more fish here than last time. Lu Nanzhou's voice came from behind. Gu Yuechen frowned. It was a complete accident that she got together with Lu Nanzhou. She could swear on her life that before he confessed, she did not have any improper thoughts about this boy who grew up with her. She treated him like a brother. The only difference was that she was very fierce to other childhood friends, but she was a little nicer to Lu Nanzhou. And this good temper was all because of Ling Chunwan. It was all because when she was 15, she secretly read Ling Chunwan's diary and found out that Ling Chunwan had a crush on Lu Nanzhou. So, on account of him being her future cousin-in-law, she was very loyal to him. Who knew that it would suddenly become a mess? After Lu Jingru and Gu Yao's wedding, she was also upset for a period of time. She even made up her mind to draw a clear line between her and Lu Nanzhou. But Lu Nanzhou, who usually looked very arrogant, was like a different person after he confessed. He kept pestering her until she wanted to cry, but had no tears. Gu Yuechen could not explain it clearly. How could she just confusedly agree to him? But there was one thing she was very clear about. There was a knot in her heart with Ling Chunwan. She could not tolerate this. Even if she had to take the risk of breaking up with Lu Nanzhou, she had to get her sister back. In the east room of the main hall, the bedroom door was open. The sound of flipping books could be heard. Gu Yuechen stood at the door. Her slender fingers knocked on the door, and the sound she made was very unfriendly. Zhuang Hong looked up, closed the book, and looked at Gu Yuechen. What's the matter? I want to talk to you about the matter between you and Nuanyuan. Gu Yuechen had always spoken like this. Zhuang Hong did not fall for her tricks. He glanced at her and opened the book again. Who are you to talk to me about the matter between me and Nuanyuan? I'm her cousin. I have the right to ask about her happiness. My aunt and uncle were confused for a moment. That's why they casually arranged such a ridiculous marriage. I can't agree to it. You agree? But didn't you steal the person she likes? What right do you have to talk about her happiness? Zhuang Hong asked her calmly. He did not even raise his head. Gu Yuechen had a glib tongue for more than 10 years since she could speak. When she met Zhuang Hong, she was at a loss. After holding it in for a long time, she finally gave up. Did Nuanyuan say that to you? Anyone can see that. Zhuang Hong sneered. If you really feel sorry, you should take your little boyfriend and move out. There's a saying that goes, out of sight, out of mind. Gu Yuechen, who had always been unafraid of people, was rarely speechless. She closed the door and left the main hall obediently. However, she still had to confirm with Ling Chunwan if she wanted to move out. Ling Chunwan was busy in the kitchen. During this time, Lu Nanzhou came in and took the initiative to ask for help. After looking around, Ling Chunwan pointed at a few clean tomatoes on the table. Why don't you help me wash the tomatoes? So when Gu Yuechen came in, she saw a very harmonious scene. Ling Chunwan was cooking with a cooking spoon. On the cooking table next to her, Lu Nanzhou was washing the tomatoes with his sleeves rolled up. The two of them were talking and laughing. She thought about what Zhuang Hong said just now. Maybe he just said it to annoy her? Gu Yuechen breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. She pretended to be relaxed and greeted her. Nuanyuan, what delicious food did you make? Clang! The spoon hit the edge of the pot, making a loud noise and splashing sparks. Ling Chunwan exclaimed, and hurriedly took 2 steps back. Nuanyuan, are you okay? Gu Yuechen rushed forward and grabbed her wrist. Are you burned? Ling Chunwan's face was pale. After a few seconds of silence, she pulled her hand out and said in a muffled voice, I'm fine. You and Brother Nanjo can go to the living room to rest. I'll call you when it's time to eat. I'll clean up. Chapter 582. Looking at Ling Chunwan's distant eyes, Gu Yuechen felt an unbearable stuffiness in her heart. Nanjo, you go out first. Lu Nanzhou's face showed a trace of doubt, but he didn't think much of it and turned to leave. After closing the door, Gu Yuechen took a deep breath and suppressed her anger. Nuanyuan, is it really so hard for you to accept that I'm with Nanzhou? I don't want to talk about this. Ling Chunwan frowned, her eyes full of avoidance. If it's so hard for you to accept, I'll go out and break up with him now. We'll be like before, just say the word. He likes you, Chen. There's no point in you doing this. Ling Chunwan lowered her head and held her red wrist with a calm expression. I don't care. I just want to know if you're so uncomfortable with me being with him. If so, I'll break up with him, as long as we can be like before. Ling Chunwan's frown deepened. Chen, you don't have to be like this. I didn't mean that. I just need time to resolve this embarrassment in my heart. I can do it, but you can't, right? Gu Yuechen's face was livid. Just because Lu Nanzhou confessed to me, even if I'm not with him, you still want to draw a line between us. Ling Chunwan, what's wrong with you? How can you be so stubborn? Do you know what you want? You've been like this since you were young. If you don't say it, how can others understand? What's the point of hiding? If I didn't come to you, were you planning to hide from me forever? The air was silent for a long time. Ling Chunwan turned off the stove and said softly, Let's eat. Get ready to eat. This dish is ready. Gu Yuechen was so angry that she saw stars. She slammed the door and left. He had clearly come to apologize, but in the end, he couldn't suppress his temper. No matter what he said or did, it seemed like he had bullied her again. It was too cowardly. Ling Chunwan stood in place for a long time, staring at the pot of food with a complicated expression. Her temperament and that of Gu Yuechen were polar opposites. One was lukewarm, while the other was aggressive. They would often talk nonsense for half a day, and now it seemed that they were in such a state. After setting the table, she went to the living room to call for Zhuang Hong, only to find that there was no one in the living room. She went to all the rooms in the courtyard, but still couldn't find him. In the end, she had no choice but to knock on the bedroom door of the east room of the main hall and ask Zhuang Hong, Where are Chen and the others? Zhuang Hong glanced at her and said in a lukewarm tone, You didn't ask me to look after it for you. Seeing that she did not speak, Zhuang Hong sighed in his heart. How did he end up with such a clown? He said reluctantly, I heard the sound of the luggage wheels outside. They should have left. Left? Ling Chunwan was stunned. Where are they going? To stay in a hotel, of course. Zhuang Hong looked at her from the corner of his eyes. Don't tell me that you want them to stay? Ling Chunwan's reaction was unexpected to Zhuang Hong. She looked completely relieved. She looked up at him, her eyes sparkling. Then let's eat. There are so many dishes today. We might not be able to finish them. She was frank and straightforward. All her emotions were written on her face. How did he meet such a clown? Zhuang Hong's slender fingers grasped the pages of his book, and the deep look in his eyes suddenly turned gentle. The awkwardness that had been going on for a long time was all gone, because of Ling Chunwan's relieved expression. During the meal, Zhuang Hong mentioned that there was a family dinner this weekend. Where is it? The capital. Oh, it's Friday today. Then you should pack up and go back early. Otherwise, you won't be able to make it. You're going back with me. Zhuang Hong's tone was unquestionable. Ling Chunwan's mouth twitched. She looked surprised. Why? It's your family dinner. Why should I go? You're my fiancé. You should be there. What fiancé? Don't joke around. Ling Chunwan avoided Zhuang Hong's eyes and said softly, When my brother comes back from his honeymoon, I'll make it clear to him. Zhuang Hong's expression changed. What do you want to make clear? About the annulment of our engagement. What era are we in now? You want to annul our engagement? Zhuang Hong's expression completely darkened. Yes, I'm just. Zhuang Hong slammed his chopsticks on the table. He stared at Ling Chunwan with a livid expression. You can't let go of that guy, Lu Nanzhou? Ling Chunwan frowned. What are you doing? I've been living here for almost half a month. What do you think I am? A friend. A friend? Zhuang Hong was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. He slammed the table and stood up. Okay, a friend. You're really polite to your friends. That afternoon, Zhuang Hong began to pack up. Ling Chunwan walked around the living room. She leaned against the door and asked, "You're leaving just like that? What else can I do?" Zhuang Hong looked back at her. There was some expectation in his eyes. As long as she said that she wanted him to stay, the suitcase would be turned over immediately. I haven't finished eating lunch. It's okay to heat it up, but I can't finish it alone at night. Then keep it to feed the stray dogs. Zhuang Hong's face was sullen. After he said that, he regretted it. The words "keep it to feed the stray dogs" sounded like he was scolding himself. So he packed up even more violently. Half an hour later, Ling Chunwan came in with the freshly made green dumplings. Do you want to have some snacks for your afternoon tea? The food on the plane isn't very good. Zhuang Hong hesitated for a while. In the end, he decided not to go against the food. So, he ate a bowl and didn't talk to Ling Chunwan. After he finished eating, he went back to the room and continued to pack. A shirt was folded 4 or 5 times. When the suitcase was full, he poured it out again. When he heard footsteps, he continued to pack. I sealed some green dumplings for you. Take them with you on the plane. When you get there, you can cook them in the pot. Last time, you said that you liked to eat this pickled vegetable. I sealed a jar for you and put it together with the green dumplings. You don't need to put this in the fridge. I made this candied fruit myself. If you feel uncomfortable on the plane, you can eat some. Ling Chunwan. Zhuang Hong finally couldn't take it anymore. Are you done? I don't need these things of yours. Have you thought about what I want? What do you want? Zhuang Hong suddenly approached her. I brought you out of Mauritius and let you live on the island for a month. Then, I lived with you in the old house in the wilderness for half a month. I ate and lived with you every day. I ran in the morning, drank tea in the afternoon, and walked in the evening. I coaxed you to sleep even when it was windy, rainy, and thunderous. Other than me, which other man has been so patient with you? Ling Chunwan's back was against the wall. She swallowed hard and muttered, "My brother." Zhuang Hong's face was livid. He raised his voice and said, "Except for your brother. Haven't you thought about why?" Why? Seeing that Ling Chunwan was still in a daze, Zhuang Hong was furious. He pressed Ling Chunwan against the wall. Because I like you. I'm willing to spend time on you. There's no other reason. It's just because I like you. Chapter 583. When Zhuang Hong left the old house with his suitcase, Ling Chunwan was still leaning against the wall with a blank look on her face. A week later, Gu Yao and Lu Jingru returned from their honeymoon. They brought small gifts for their family. Ling Chunwan received a set of bone porcelain tableware. She loved it so much that she couldn't put it down. I knew you would like this. Lu Jingru pushed Gu Yao and squeezed out a seat on the sofa between the brother and sister. Ling Chunwan was picked up by Ling Yufeng. Ling Yufeng drove a light yellow Lamborghini and parked it at the entrance of the old house. He was wearing sunglasses and a flashy burgundy casual suit and leaned against the car door. His panicked look almost attracted the attention of the entire old town. Ling Chunwan couldn't wait to find a scarf and wrap herself up. Reluctantly, she was stuffed into the car by Ling Yufeng. The car sped all the way. When they arrived at the Hanyan Villa, she was scared half to death. The Hanyan Villa, known as the first villa in Lanjiang City, returned to its former liveliness because of the return of Lu Jingru and Gu Yao. It was a summer resort. In addition to Gu Yao, who lived here all year round, Gu Yao and Ling Chunwan's parents also came back to stay for a period of time, every summer to entertain their friends and their friends' children. In Ling Chunwan's childhood memory, the Hanyan Villa was like a children's paradise. Gu Yao took over his father's job early, so when there was no tiger in the mountain, the monkey became king, leaving a lot of room for the young children to use their imagination. Every winter and summer vacation, Gu Yuechen became the king of the children here. Except for Ling Yufeng, who was her sworn enemy and had a brother, Ling Dongqing, who could betray him at any time. The others were all her subordinates. Lu Nanzhou was Gu Yuechen's advisor. He coerced the two younger brothers, Song Yinma and Bai Jing, to form an army to fight against Ling Yufeng. He spent the whole summer in the villa. In those memories of a flamboyant childhood and adolescence, Ling Chunwan was never there. She seemed to be born with no sense of existence, living a life completely different from her brother, who became famous at a young age. Beside her was the singing queen Lu Jingru, who had just been promoted to sister-in-law. Her beautiful voice pulled back her thoughts. It took a lot of effort to bring this back. Your brother asked me to bring it back, but this thing is fragile. Who knows what will be a pile of broken porcelain pieces when it comes back. Finally, I forced your brother to carry it back. Thank you, sister-in-law. Hey, don't call me sister-in-law. It's so old. Just call me sister like before. Sister. Hey, you're so obedient. How is that obedient? She's been silly since she was a child. Ling Yufeng was always sarcastic. This was one of the reasons why he and Gu Yuechen were at loggerheads for so many years. Lu Jingru rolled her eyes at him. Damn brat, shut your stinky mouth. If you don't know what to do, put down the model I brought for you. Ling Yufeng was a model enthusiast. His family collected all the models of ships in the world. The one Lu Jingru brought back for him was the one he had been looking for a long time. When he heard this, he naturally begged for mercy. I'm wrong, okay, sister? Nuanyuan is obedient. In the whole family, Nuanyuan is the most obedient, okay? This is the truth. Lu Jingru had a matter-of-fact expression. By the way, what's going on with Chun and Nanzhou? We agreed to have a family dinner today. We'll be eating in a while. The elders are all here. How can they not be here? Ling Yufeng was busy with the model in his hand and responded casually when he heard this. Dongqing went to the hotel to pick them up. They should be here soon. The two of them are staying a little far away. Hotel. Lu Jingrou's expression changed slightly. What hotel are they staying at? The Lu family was in the center of Lanjiang City. Although Lu Nanzhou didn't come home often, there was still a place for him to stay at home. As for Gu Yuechen, needless to say, she grew up in Hanyan Villa. She had never heard of the two of them staying at a hotel in Lanjiang City. Suddenly, a clear force came from her wrist. Lu Jingru turned to look at Gu Yao and saw a complicated expression in his eyes. Only then did she come back to her senses. She glanced at Ling Chunwan. Nuanyuan, do you know that Chen is back? Ling Chunwan nodded and squatted in front of the sofa, playing with the bone china cup in her hand. Yes. Then what about her staying at the hotel? I know. Isn't that a bad idea? I didn't let her stay at the hotel. Then shouldn't you try to persuade her to come and stay here? After all, she is your cousin. If your uncle and aunt hear about it, they will be unhappy. Ling Chunwan stopped touching the bone china cup. Gu Yao glanced at Lu Jingru and said indifferently, she doesn't have to say that. The atmosphere became gloomy all of a sudden. Even Ling Yufeng felt it. Lu Jingru and Gu Yao both had bad tempers, and now their expressions were not good. Gu Yao, I don't have a problem with my brother staying at the hotel. But Chen is your cousin, right? Uncle and the others are all here today. If they ask about it at the dinner table, how are you going to explain it? I don't think this matter needs to be explained. Gu Yao's face darkened. They are willing to stay at the hotel. If Nuanyuan has the ability to force them to stay at the hotel, I will personally invite them back. Ahem. Ling Yufeng suddenly coughed and pulled Ling Chunwan up from the ground. Nuanyuan, I have something to give you. Come with me. The boys and girls who were busy unwrapping the gifts in the room all found an excuse to stroll out, leaving the awkward atmosphere in the room for the couple who had just returned from their honeymoon to solve it by themselves. After everyone left, Lu Jingru glanced at the door from the corner of her eye. After confirming that no one was there, she let out a long sigh of relief. Her gloomy face instantly brightened up and she said with a smile, your sister is so worried about you. You're really worried about your sister. Acting is really difficult. I think we can reject the movie that your agent gave us. Gu Yao looked calm. Someone has to force her. There will always be a place for her to hide. She doesn't know what she wants in this life. Do you think she will know when we quarrel? And Yufeng? Damn. Lu Jingru twitched the corners of her mouth. I was wondering why this guy was going to pick up Nuanyuan today. You arranged it long ago, didn't you? What else are you hiding from me? Ling Yufeng closed the door and waved her hand. Sit down. Make yourself at home. Ling Chunwan curled her lips, sat down on the bed, and leaned against the mattress with a pillow in her arms. This is my room. You are not coming back to live here, so I unilaterally declare that this room belongs to me. It's pink. Ling Chunwan glanced at the pink curtains and wallpaper and kindly reminded him. And you have your own room. But pink is my favorite color. My room was renovated 2 years ago, and my father painted it black and white. It's as ugly as a graveyard. It's not suitable for people to sleep in. Ling Chunwan smiled and said nothing. You have been absent-minded these 2 days. Tell me, who do you like? I will go and get him for you. How about it? Chapter 584. Ling Chunwan glanced at Ling Yufeng, not concealing the disdain in her eyes. What else can you do besides drinking and flirting with girls? Ling Yufeng was the most dandy of the Ling family's descendants. He had been to all the nightclubs in the streets of Lanjiang City. Everyone who opened a bar knew his name. When he was 15 years old, he became famous for his glorious feat of drinking in the most famous bar street of Lanjiang City overnight. He was known as the nightclub gold belt. Ling Yufeng wasn't angry at his cousin's words. He stretched, sat down, and leaned against the head of the bed lazily, looking like a softy. Don't blame me for not reminding you. It's not easy to meet true love in one's life. It's okay to be a coward. Brother will protect you. If you're a coward at such a critical moment, no one can do anything about it in the future. Ling Chunwan curled her lips and said, Then which of your ex-girlfriends is your true love? Me. Ling Yufeng turned over and looked at Ling Chunwan with his head on the bed. All of them? Every one of them. Ling Chunwan tugged the corners of her mouth. But not everyone is as lucky as me to meet true love every now and then. Ling Yufeng looked at her with a mischievous expression. For example, I think it's not easy to meet a cowardly otaku like you once in a lifetime. You get out. Ling Chunwan was annoyed by his sarcasm. She wasn't as eloquent as him, so she could only force out such a sentence with a red face. Ling Yufeng raised his hand and rubbed her head with a grin. Hey, I'm just joking with you. Zhuang Hong is obviously not a good person. How can I push you into the fire pit? I don't want to talk to you anymore. Okay. I'll shut up, okay? Ling Yufeng simply turned back and leaned against the edge of the bed to rest with his eyes closed. After a long silence, Ling Chunwan's weak voice sounded. Why do you say that Zhuang Hong is not a good person? Ling Yufeng turned his head and slowly opened his peach blossom eyes as he said meaningfully, Don't worry. Because I heard yesterday that he broke off the engagement with your parents and is preparing to get engaged to someone else. Many people came to the Ling family's banquet. This time, it was mainly because Lu Jingru and Gu Yao came back from their honeymoon. Their parents happened to be in Lanjiang, so they conveniently arranged a party and invited their close relatives and children to have a meal together. Ling Chunwan's mother had made a lot of friends when she was young. Now they were all rich and powerful. Her children were also multi-talented. Every time on such occasions, Ling Chunwan felt like she was sitting on pins and needles. She was most afraid that some uncle or aunt would ask Nuanyuan to sing or dance or something like that. A long Western-style table was filled with people. Lu Jingru looked around and tugged at Gu Yao's sleeve. Where are Nuanyuan and Yufeng? Gu Yao looked calm as he passed the message to Lu Jingru. It was a message from Ling Yufeng. Brother, it's done. I'm taking Nuanyuan away. Don't forget what you promised me. You really let that guy take Nuanyuan away. My heart isn't here. It's better to go out for a walk. No, do you know where Yufeng is taking Nuanyuan? As they were talking, Gu Yao's mother suddenly asked, Where's Nuanyuan? Why didn't that girl come? Gu Yao said seriously, She went to the capital. Gu Yao's mother Yi Huanyan was stunned at first. Then she laughed and looked at her husband beside her. A grown girl can't be kept at home. This girl didn't even say anything. It only took 3 hours to fly from Lanjiang City to the capital. When they got off the plane, it was already night. The capital was even more prosperous than Lanjiang City. As soon as they got off the plane, Ling Yufeng dragged Ling Chunwan like a wild horse out of control. He called his friends over the phone and went straight to a famous nightclub street in the capital. The deafening music, the messy dance steps, and the flickering lights on the dance floor frightened Ling Chunwan. She kept locking herself in the corner of the booth. It was impossible for her to go to the dance floor and pull the crazy Ling Yufeng out. She could only curl up into a ball and shiver in the music. The deafening music on the dance floor almost burst people's eardrums. Ling Yufeng's new female companion pointed in the direction of the sofa and shouted at the top of her voice. "Little brother, is that little girl your girlfriend? Are you just going to leave her there? She's not safe." Ling Yufeng glanced through the crowd and laughed heartlessly. "That's my sister. Don't worry about her. She's much safer here than I am." "What do you mean? Does your sister own the bar?" "More or less. Not now, but in the future." Ling Yufeng had a meaningful look on his face. In the booth, Ling Chunwan had a headache because of the music. She couldn't resist the so-called friends called by Ling Yufeng. They forced her to drink one glass of wine after another. She drank until her head was dizzy. In the end, she had no choice but to run to the bathroom. Her memory of that night was broken after she bumped into someone at the door of the bathroom. When she woke up the next day, it was already noon. The severe pain in her body made her groan. As soon as she opened her eyes, she panicked. In a strange room, in a strange bed, the sound of running water came from the bathroom. After a night of drunkenness and melodramatic drama, she carefully lifted the quilt on her body, her face pale. She was naked under the quilt. As soon as she moved a little, her lower body twitched in pain. The bruises on her shoulder and collarbone were clearly reflected in the mirror opposite her. It was ambiguous and embarrassing. The sound of running water in the bathroom stopped abruptly. The sliding door made a sound, revealing a man's strong chest. He was wiping his hair with one hand. The water slid down his wheat-colored chest and into the bath towel tied around his waist. "Awake!" The magnetic voice pulled Ling Chunwan's soul back. The tall figure was already sitting by the bed. Ling Chunwan looked at the familiar face. Her body stiffened. After a long time, she found her voice. "You. Why are you here? Last night you still have the nerve to mention last night." Zhuang Hong had a mischievous smile on his face. He suddenly leaned in close, nose to nose. His breath was ambiguous. "It's my first time. Ling Chunwan, you have to be responsible for me." "How? How could there be such a person?" 3 days later, on the day of the engagement party of the Zhuangyu group in the capital, Zhuang Hong, the vice chairman of the Zhuangyu group, and the bride Duan Ruyan both disappeared. The news swept the major newspapers and caused an uproar. The news spread to Lanjiang City. At that time, Ling Chunwan's parents were already on a plane to Orlando. Before boarding the plane, they saw the news. Yi Huanyan and Ling Han looked at each other and smiled. The little coward that they had raised at home for 19 years finally grew up. It was worth celebrating. As for the other main character of the wedding banquet, the bride, Duan Ruyan, when she woke up on the morning of the wedding banquet, she found herself in a strange hotel room. She was tied up, and there was no answer to her cries. After struggling for a long time, a man opened the door and walked in. He was 185 meters tall and wore a white racing suit. He had a pair of peach blossom eyes that were filled with brilliant spring water. He was looking at her seductively. "Miss Duan, you have 2 choices now. The first is to go to the wedding banquet. But your fiancé has run away with someone else. Before you go, you have to think about how to face the awkward situation. The second is to go with me now. After all, if both parties run away from the wedding, no one will lose face. It's very fair." Chapter 585. In the early autumn, the Huanyan Group announced 2 wedding announcements in 1 year, which attracted a lot of attention. The first wedding was announced 2 years ago, but because of the special identity of the 2 parties, people paid attention to it for 2 years. The wedding was held in Mauritius in June. The groom was the group's president Gu Yao, and the bride was the singer and rock queen, Lu Jingru, who had countless fans all over the world. The wedding was very casual. The bride and groom sang and danced at the wedding, which was in line with the style of this young and famous newlyweds. But what was surprising was that in less than 3 months, the Huanyan group and the Zhuangyu group of the capital announced that they would hold a wedding ceremony for Zhuang Hong, the vice president of the Zhuangyu group, and Ling Chunwan, the second daughter of the Huanyan group. The announcement was too sudden. Many people knew Zhuang Hong, but only a few people knew about the second daughter of the Ling family. It was still okay in Lanjiang, but outside of Lanjiang to the capital, the name Ling Chunwan was unheard of. The wedding was held in a wine manor in the eastern district of the capital. The person in charge of the layout of the wedding was Zhao Fen, the right-hand woman of the current chief editor of Fengshang. It was said that Miss Zhao was the disciple of the former chief editor, Ji Xiaoya. Because of her former identity, she was like a fish in water in the fashion industry and had a good relationship with celebrities in all walks of life. At the wedding, Zhao Fen was wearing a little black Hepburn dress. Her red lips were very domineering. She stepped on a pair of 12 centimeters crystal high heels and helped the Ling family welcome the guests at the door. She was very busy. Gu Yuechen and Lu Nanzhou came together. Seeing that Zhao Fen didn't treat her as an outsider, Gu Yuechen's eyes tightened a little and showed a displeased look. But she thought of something and didn't say anything. Zhao Fen's eyes were sharp. She saw that Gu Yuechen wanted to avoid her and enter the banquet hall. She suddenly raised her voice. "Isn't this Chen? I haven't seen you for a long time. I thought you wouldn't come because of Nuanyuan's wedding." Gu Yuechen glanced at her. "Nuanyuan is my cousin. How can I not come? Don't sow discord." "Sowing discord?" Zhao Fen giggled. "Miss Gu, don't blame everything on me. I just find it strange that you haven't appeared by Nuanyuan's side for a long time. After all, you're cousins. I didn't see you at the dinner party on the eve of the wedding." Gu Yuechen frowned. "What does that have to do with you?" "It has nothing to do with me. It's not like I stole the person my cousin likes." Zhao Fen glanced at Gu Yuechen with eyes full of contempt. Zhao Fen's voice was not loud, but it was heard by many people, causing a burst of whispers. Gu Yuechen had always been hot-tempered. She was about to lose her temper, but Lu Nanzhou pulled her back and comforted her. "Chun, this is Nuanyuan's wedding. Don't cause trouble. Bear with it." These words reminded Gu Yuechen. Her relationship with Ling Chunwan was already a little rigid. If she ruined her wedding, there would be no way to clean up the mess. After thinking about it, she clenched her fists, glared at Zhao Fen, and turned to leave. Along the way, she kept muttering, "This Zhao Fen is obviously a bad person, but my mother likes her. She even gave Fengshang dynasty to her. How strange." Lu Nanzhou kept comforting her. "Auntie Yu likes her daughter the most. She only treats Sister Zhao Fen as a friend. Think about it. Sister Zhao Fen's parents passed away early, and Auntie Yu watched her grow up. She can be considered half a daughter. I think she's more like a daughter than me." Gu Yuechen threw off Lu Nanzhou's arm in a fit of pique and walked towards the venue where the snacks were placed. "Recently I've been choking. Everyone doesn't like me. After Nuanyuan's wedding is over, I'll go back to Four Seasons Villa and never come to Lawn River again." "That won't do. If you don't come to Lawn River, how are you going to marry me?" "Who wants to marry you?" Gu Yuechen glanced at him with a sullen expression. "If it weren't for you, Nuanyuan, and I wouldn't be in this mess. You're the culprit. Don't try to deny it. It's all my fault." Lu Nanzhou gave her a glass of juice and reminded her. "Don't drink at night. You've been drinking a lot these past 2 days." "I know. You don't have to tell me. If you know, drink the juice." Lu Nanzhou stuffed the juice into her hand. "No matter what others say later, don't take it to heart." Gu Yuechen didn't say anything, but her expression was complicated. The better Lu Nanzhou coaxed her, the more irritated Gu Yuechen became. As long as she couldn't untie the knot in her heart with Ling Chunwan, she couldn't treat her relationship with Lu Nanzhou seriously. As for Lu Nanzhou's request to bring her to see his parents, she had already rejected him countless times. She had a feeling that Lu Nanzhou would use Ling Chunwan's wedding to bring up this matter again today. After all the guests arrived at the wedding venue, they sat down according to their respective seats. The chairman of the Zhuangyu group, Zhuang Suqiu, brought her daughter, Zhuangyu, Ling Chunwan's mother and brother, Gu Yao, to sit at the head of the table. Accompanied by the music, Ling Chunwan, dressed in a white dress, held her father, Ling Han's arm and walked down the spiral staircase step by step. Behind her were two delicate flower girls. Ling Chunwan rarely put on makeup. Today, she only put on a little makeup. Her face was rosy and filled with a happy smile. Seeing this expression, Gu Yuechen heaved a sigh of relief. When she first found out that Ling Chunwan was going to marry Zhuang Hong, she had always thought that Ling Chunwan was angry at her for stealing Lu Nanzhou. Because of this, she had asked her aunt many times. Until the wedding date was set, her heart was in a mess. Today, it seemed that she had worried too much. The MC invited a famous TV host. The atmosphere was warm and relaxed. When the bride and groom were exchanging rings, Gu Yuechen's eyes fell on the bridesmaid beside Ling Chunwan. That position should have been hers. She sighed in her heart. "Chun, I have something to tell you." Lu Nanzhou's voice suddenly came from beside her. Gu Yuechen was stunned. "Yes. Look, your parents and my parents are here. After the wedding, why don't we have a meal together?" Gu Yuechen's expression changed. "I think it's better not. This is Nuanyuan's wedding. The wedding will end very late. It's okay. We don't have to wait until the wedding is over. I have booked a private room. As long as you agree, we can leave early." Gu Yuechen avoided his eyes and frowned. "I think it's better not. I'm not ready. Since Nuanyuan is married, you should agree to go home with me to see my parents, right?" Lu Nanzhou was still trying to persuade her. Although his voice was not loud, the people around the table looked at him strangely. Gu Yuechen became irritated and raised her voice. "Are you done? I said that I'm not ready. You can take whoever you want to see your parents. I'm not going." Chapter 586. Lu Nanzhou's face darkened on the spot. Even a good-tempered person would not be able to bear being scolded like this. Even though Lu Nanzhou had repeatedly hinted that Gu Yuechen had such a temper, he could not stand that she had vented her anger on him over and over again for so many months because of him. Although this scolding was drowned out by the music, it attracted the strange gazes of the surrounding people. Is that the eldest daughter of the Gu family? She has such a fiery temper. Is that her boyfriend next to her? Are they having an argument? Does she have such a temper towards her boyfriend? It's really better to see than to hear 100 times. Isn't that so? She could blind one of the kidnapper's eyes at the age of 12. What a fierce girl. The surrounding whispers all showed the impression of Gu Yuechen in everyone's eyes. Gu Yuechen was famous for her fiery temper in Lanjiang City, because she was kidnapped when she was 12 years old. Although she was the eldest daughter of the Four Seasons Villa, she grew up in Lanjiang City. At the age of 12 or 13, she led a group of young girls and boys of the Hanyan Villa to occupy the mountain and act like the bandits in wuxia novels, who stood at the entrance of the villa to collect money. At that time, the elders who had a good relationship with the villa all took it as a child's joke and gave her a red packet as a means of entertainment. The people who entered and left the villa were not only Yi Huanyan and Ling Han's friends, but also many business partners with deep backgrounds. The business partners relied on the villa to take care of them and were eager to ask these living ancestors for something to show their sincerity. However, there were not only these people strolling around the villa, there were also many business rivals. Ling Han and Yi Huanyan were good at doing business. No one dared to provoke them in the open, so it was inevitable that someone would make a move in the dark. The 12-year-old Gu Yuechen was the king of the mountain at the entrance of the villa for half a month. Then one day, she was kidnapped, together with Lu Nanzhou and Ling Chunwan, who were dragged out by her to be her advisor. They were blindfolded, stuffed into a Mercedes-Benz, and taken directly to an abandoned station in the wilderness. The result was very unexpected. The people of the Four Seasons Villa and the Hanyan Villa rushed to the scene one after another, only to find the kidnapper lying on the ground, covering one eye and crying in a pool of blood. Lu Nanzhou and Ling Chunwan shrank behind two abandoned tires and shivered. Only Gu Yuechen held a Swiss Army knife in her hand and blocked in front of the two, the tip of the knife still dripping with blood. That was the first time the 12-year-old Gu Yuechen really fought with someone. Her body was already dirty, but her eyes were full of fierce murderous intent. Gu Yuechen's father, Gu Xinian, walked out from between the shocked couple of Yi Huanyan and his wife. He squatted in front of his daughter, patted the dust off her body, and only said 3 words. Good job. It was not a bad thing for a girl to have courage, but it was not a good thing to go too far. When Gu Yuechen was 15 years old, it was also the 15th year of Ling Yufeng, who had been her nemesis since childhood. That year, Ling Yufeng had not yet made a name for himself in the nightclub streets of Lanjiang City, and he was unwilling to go out with the name of the Hanyan Villa. He was arrogant and spoke without thinking. In the nightclub, he angered the underworld leader and almost got one of his fingers chopped off. He called Ling Dongqing to get money, but was intercepted by Gu Yuechen halfway. In the end, Gu Yuechen arrived with bodyguards and smashed the bar with 2 people. From then on, Gu Yuechen's name was firmly established among the unreasonable hedonistic sons of rich families. In fact, what she did was not sensational. She only smashed a bar. In the end, she even took the initiative to pay for it. She only took Ling Yufeng, who was beaten into a pig's head, away. However, rumors like to exaggerate. Therefore, it was rumored that Gu Yuechen was extremely arrogant. Regardless of right or wrong, she was exceptionally protective. Therefore, when Ling Yufeng flirted with the lover of the underworld leader, she led people to chop off 3 of his fingers. That night, the nightclub street was filled with blood, and the police did not dare to do anything. Gradually, the story of the eldest daughter of the Gu family being unruly, willful, and unable to distinguish right from wrong spread all over the city. Lu Nanzhou was the younger brother of the rock queen, Lu Jingru. Although he was still studying in a foreign music academy, when he was 15 years old, he became a famous original lyricist and composer because of a folk song that became popular all over the country. He received widespread attention from the outside world. 2 months ago, the photo of him kissing Gu Yuechen at the airport was posted on the internet and caused a lot of discussion. Gu Yuechen's identity, family background, and past glorious deeds spread all over the internet, both black and white. A large number of people cried and shouted for Lu Nanzhou to break up with her. Gu Yuechen had never cared about other people's opinions. With fans clamoring like this, she became more and more annoyed with Lu Nanzhou. Several times at the airport, she deliberately glared at Lu Nanzhou when she clearly liked to see people taking photos. Lu Nanzhou knew her temper, so he did not take it seriously, and even explained for her on Weibo. However, this time, in front of so many people, Gu Yuechen did not give him face and scolded him. It was indeed too much. Even if Lu Nanzhou had a good temper, he could not stand so many people watching him being scolded by his girlfriend. It was still an unreasonable statement. What did she mean by, "I can take whoever I want to see your parents"? Gu Yuechen, what do you mean? Lu Nanzhou's face was gloomy. Forget it, I don't want to argue with you here. Gu Yuechen's face was cold as she stared in the direction of Ling Chunwan's bridesmaids. Her reaction to Lu Nanzhou was very perfunctory. Am I the one arguing with you? Lu Nanzhou was so angry that he almost vomited blood. All these days, when have you not been the one making trouble for no reason? Just because of Nuanyuan? What did I do wrong? Why are you venting your anger on me? Gu Yuechen was already angry, so when she heard this, she said unhappily, "That's enough. Don't be unreasonable. Will you only be happy if I am with Nuanyuan? Are you forcing yourself to be with me? Lu Nanzhou, what are you talking about?" Gu Yuechen finally realized that something was wrong and looked at him in surprise. Lu Nanzhou slammed the table and stood up. He stepped onto the red carpet and strode to the wedding stage. He stood in front of Ling Chunwan and interrupted the wedding ring exchange ceremony. The MC was confused, but he quickly came back to his senses and tried to save the situation. Family and friends would like to give their blessings to this couple. "Sir, you, Ling Chunwan." Lu Nanzhou snatched the microphone from the MC's hand and stared straight at Ling Chunwan. His voice thundered, and he did not hide the anger in his eyes. Zhuang Hong was unhappy. He shielded his wife and said coldly to Lu Nanzhou, "What are you doing?" Lu Nanzhou took a deep breath and said, I just have something to ask Nuanyuan. It has nothing to do with you, and I won't disturb your wedding. A timid face appeared behind Zhuang Hong. Ling Chunwan looked at him blankly. Brother Nanzhou, what do you want to say? If I say that the person I like is you, would you be willing to leave with me? Now. Zhuang Hong's face was ashen. He stared at Lu Nanzhou gloomily. There was an uproar below the stage. Lu Nanzhou's parents were in disbelief, and hurriedly stood up from the VIP seats. Are you kidding? Ling Chunwan coughed dryly and looked embarrassed. I'm serious. As long as you are willing, we can go and get our marriage certificate now. Ling Chunwan's mouth twitched. Sorry, I'm not willing. Chapter 587. Hearing this, Lu Nanzhou did not show any displeasure. He turned around almost instantly and spoke in the direction of Gu Yuechen's table. Did you hear that? She's not willing. After saying this, Lu Nanzhou left the wedding venue. The MC quickly smoothed things over. That was just a small interlude. It seems that our bride is indifferent in the face of a wedding robbery. This shows that she is sincere to the groom. Gu Yuechen did not listen to what the MC said after that. Her mind was filled with the words Lu Nanzhou said when he passed by the table. We're finished. After Zhuang Hong and Ling Chunwan's wedding, Gu Yuechen returned to the Four Seasons villa. She did not go out for an entire week, and obediently stayed in her room in West Court. In the end, her mother, Ji Xiaoya, could not stand it anymore. The girl is so bored at home every day that she's going to grow mold. Why don't we call Nuanyuan and ask her to come back and accompany her for a few days? Gu Xinian was sitting in front of the bay window making tea with a leisurely look on his face. Nuanyuan is on her honeymoon. Why call her back? I think it's good. Weren't you always worried that the girl would not be at home all day? That's too abnormal. Ever since she broke up with Nanzhou, it's like she's been possessed. I'll call Xiaorou later and ask her what's going on. What's there to ask? He was the one who broke up. Do you want the girl to ask for reconciliation? What's wrong with that? Ji Xiaoya frowned. I think Nanzhou is pretty good. You don't know what kind of temper your daughter has. It's all because you spoiled her. She's full of bad habits. It's good enough that someone wants her. Gu Xinian said unhappily. I raised my daughter. How can she be taken away so easily? What's Lu Nanzhou? He's not good enough for my daughter. Just keep bragging. Ji Xiaoya curled her lips in dissatisfaction. You've been spoiling her since she was young. You even think that her farts are fragrant. In the future, I don't know whose unlucky son will marry her. I'm afraid he'll be tortured to death by you. Gu Xinian snorted and continued to sit in front of the window sill, leisurely sipping his tea. His expression was very pleasant. His daughter didn't have many days to stay at home obediently. These 2 days he was in a very good mood. He was even a little grateful to Lu Nanzhou. There was nothing bad about breaking up with his daughter and making her change her mind. I won't let her just sit around and wait for death. Don't even think about letting her follow you to the gym. Then what are you going to do? She's about to start school. What's wrong with staying at home? I'll arrange for her to intern at Fengshan tomorrow. If you dare to stop me, you'll sleep in the study tonight. Ji Xiaoya carried a fruit platter and walked towards the second floor. She was still worried, so she turned back and said, You're not allowed to help her. Otherwise you'll sleep in Nanyuan. Ji Xiaoya had made up her mind to send her daughter to be reformed. Since the day Gu Yuechen was born, she had been doted on by everyone, especially Gu Xinian. After giving birth, Ji Xiaoya finally understood why her mother-in-law had urged her to have a child. She originally thought that Gu Xinian didn't like children. However, after giving birth to her daughter, she realized how much of a comfort it was to have a child for Gu Xinian. His daughter had almost become an outlet for him, to make up for all the mistakes he had made in the first half of his life. He poured all his energy into his daughter. Since she was young, he would grant her every request. Even if it was wrong, it was right in his eyes. This excessive doting made Ji Xiaoya feel dissatisfied, so she sent her daughter to live in Lanjiang's Hanyan Mountain Villa when she was 5 years old. She ate, lived, and went to school with Ling Chunwan and the others. She would only come back to live in the Four Seasons villa during winter and summer vacations, every year for a period of time. However, this didn't stop Gu Xinian from doting on her. Since she was young, Gu Yuechen didn't know what fear was. She also rarely cared about other people's feelings. She always did things her own way and gave people a headache. When Ji Xiaoya heard that she was with Lu Nanzhou, she was shocked. In fact, even Ji Xiaoya could tell that although Nuanyuan didn't like to talk, she had been by Lu Nanzhou's side since she was young. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell what was going on. Who would have thought that her own daughter would steal the person her cousin liked? This made Ji Xiaoya feel very touched. To put it more seriously, she was a little angry. She and Yi Huanyan had been good friends for decades. Later, they became sisters-in-law. They had never been angry. Naturally, she hoped that her children would get along well with each other. Gu Yao was born with a cold face and was difficult to get along with. However, these two cousins were about the same age and had grown up together. They should have been the closest relationship, but now it was a mess. The next day, Gu Yuechen was taken out of the Four Seasons villa by her mother. The plane flew directly to the headquarters of Fengshang Group in Los Angeles. As soon as they arrived at the company, Ji Xiaoya threw her to the Human Resources Department and arranged an internship in the Fashion Editorial Department. Although it was said to be an internship, in fact, it was just to help organize the photos and contact the celebrities who participated in the shoot. It was all trivial matters. Gu Yuechen didn't take it seriously. With her identity as the eldest daughter, these people wouldn't dare to casually order her around. However, when she saw her immediate superior, her face completely darkened. She had an ominous feeling in her heart. Xiaofan was wearing a business suit. She had a high ponytail and sharp eye makeup. She looked at her with a fake smile and stretched out a hand. Yesterday, I heard from the teacher that you would be arranged to come in, so I took the initiative to ask you to come in. In the future, Sister Chun, you will be interning with me. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me. Gu Yuechen had been at odds with this Xiao Fun, who liked to steal her limelight since she was young. Her mother clearly knew, but she still arranged it like this. This made her feel a surge of anger in her heart. Ask you, she choked and said. Who do you think you are? All day long, you used the identity of my mother's disciple to fool people outside. Do you have any shame, Xiaofan? Xiaofan was not angry. She retracted her hand and looked indifferent. You can look down on me, but this is Fengshang. It's the result of the teacher's years of hard work. You can't mess around. Last year, the teacher had no choice but to step down from the editor-in-chief position because of her poor health. However, the editor-in-chief position has always been empty. If you're not convinced, you can fight with me. Let's see who can sit in that position. Xiaofan was almost joking. She didn't take Gu Yuechen, who was a little girl who hadn't even grown out her hair, seriously. No one was more suitable than her in terms of age, experience, qualifications, and even understanding of Fengshang. Since the age of 13, she had been very clear about what she wanted. Although she had no background, she still became the deputy editor-in-chief of Fengshang with her own abilities. She was not like this eldest daughter, who only knew how to bully others with her power. Of course, you can also choose to tell the teacher that you don't want to stay here. After all, the family business is more suitable for you to inherit. I think Uncle Gu will give the Gu Corporation to you unconditionally. Gu Yuechen clenched her fists. Xiaofan, are you provoking me? So, I'll stay. Gu Yuechen looked up at the charming woman in front of her and said coldly. Don't be complacent too early. So what if you bully others with your power? Don't forget, I'm my mother's biological daughter. I'll do as you wish and bully others to the end. Chapter 588. While they were talking, Xiaofan's other intern Xiaoyu had already poured tea. After glancing at Xiaofan, she walked straight to the coffee table with the teacup. Gu Yuechen was the daughter of Fengshang's former editor-in-chief Ji Xiaoya. Although she rarely appeared in the company, everyone in the company knew her. Xiaoyu placed the 2 teacups on the tray on the coffee table. Editor Xiao, miss, have some tea. Gu Yuechen glanced at Xiaoyu with displeasure in her eyes. What did you call her? Xiao Yu was stunned. Zhao. Editor Zhao. I'm the one who's ignorant. When did Fengshang change editors? Hearing this, Zhaofen was not angry. She took a sip of the tea. Why are you making things difficult for an intern? I'm the deputy editor. It's only natural for an intern to call me editor. There's no need to be so calculative. Then she glanced at Xiao Yu. Go out first. There's nothing for you to do here. Xiao Yu hurriedly left, as if she was afraid that Gu Yuechen would make things difficult for her. You know how to conduct yourself. Gu Yuechen sneered. You've been buying people's hearts since you were young. You're good at it. Miss, I'll give you a piece of advice. This is Fengshang, not the Four Seasons Villa. It's not a place where Uncle Gu can interfere. Although teacher is your mother, if you cause any trouble, I think she won't be as protective of you as Uncle Gu. You should know this better than me. You seem to be sure that I'll cause trouble. Don't tell me that someone is shameless and wants to trip me up. Zhaofen sneered. You're just more fortunate than me. You were born in the Four Seasons Villa. I became the deputy editor because of my own ability. What right do you have to laugh at me? Because of your ability to curry favor with my mother, right? Don't call her your mother. Your teacher's mother in the Four Seasons Villa. Here you're still the former editor. You're just an intern. Don't you know teachers' temper after so many years? Let me tell you, not only in the Four Seasons Villa, but in any corner of the world she's my mother. You want to drive a wedge between us? Impossible. Really, I feel that teacher doesn't really want you as a daughter. Zhao Fen's eyes were filled with disdain. She swept a glance at Su Qinshuan with disdain. Even so, it's not up to you to become someone's daughter. Gu Yuechen was furious. She stared at Zhao Fen fiercely. Just wait and see. After saying this, she slammed the door and walked towards the cubicle. Zhao Fen looked at the slammed office door with a meaningful smile on her face. He really didn't know when this young miss would understand that not everyone in this world was her mother. Zhao Fen and Gu Yuechen grew up together. Zhao Fen was only 3 years older than her. People familiar with the Gu family knew that Gu Yuechen's rude and unreasonable temper was actually cultivated. In fact, no matter who it was, if they were born to get whatever they wanted, they would have developed a pampered and unreasonable temper. Gu Yuechen was completely dependent on her father, who treated her like his own life. However, it was said that before her mother gave birth to her, her father didn't want to have a child at all. Her arrival was completely unexpected. Later, after discovering that she was accidentally pregnant, her father kept a straight face throughout the delivery period. This left a psychological shadow in her mother's heart. She always felt that if this child was born, she would most likely be strangled to death. The opposite of her mother was her grandmother, Winnie. The old lady seemed to have expected what kind of effect her arrival would bring to the Four Seasons Villa. Since her mother was pregnant, she had been happy every day and served her mother with all her strength. Sure enough, she was the apple of her father's eye when she was born. Except for crying when she was born, she didn't shed a single tear. Since she was young, her father, Gu Xinian, taught her that no one in this world dared to bully her. If someone dared to do so, then there was no need to be polite. She had her father's support. Other people's children were educated with morals and quality since young. They couldn't do this or that. However, her father was different. It was as if the whole world belonged to him. He would ask for whatever he wanted, and would get whatever he wanted. He had never said no. Therefore, Gu Yuechen's life had been smooth sailing for 20 years. If there was one thing that made her beautiful life uneasy, it would be the woman in front of her, who had already become her boss, the current deputy editor of Fengshang magazine, Zhao Fen. Zhao Fen was the daughter of a mutual friend of Gu Yuechen's mother and aunt. It was said that the friend had once been in prison with Gu Yuechen's aunt, Yi Huanyan. They became sworn sisters in prison. When Zhao Fen was 6 years old, the friend fought a divorce lawsuit. The son was awarded to the husband, and the daughter was left to her. When it rains, it pours. Not long after the divorce, Zhao Fen's mother died of depression. Before she died, she entrusted her child to Gu Yuechen's mother. Therefore, Zhao Fen was sent to the Four Seasons Villa when she was 8 years old. She lived with Gu Yuechen for more than 10 years. Because of her peaceful and introverted personality, She rarely left the villa. She was closer to Ji Xiaoya than Gu Yuechen, who lived in Lanjiang City all year round. In name, Zhao Fen could be considered Ji Xiaoya's adopted daughter. Gu Yuechen's first conflict with Zhao Fen happened not long after Zhao Fen entered the Four Seasons villa. At that time, she was only 5 years old. She was already spoiled by Gu Xinian. When she returned from a vacation at her aunt's house in Lanjiang City, she saw her mother, who was usually fierce to her, holding a big sister's hand and catching butterflies in the garden. When his mother introduced Zhao Fen to him, he pushed Zhao Fen down and refused to call her elder sister no matter what. The result of this behavior was that her mother flew into a rage. She immediately decided to send her to Lanjiang City to be disciplined. Even if her husband tried to persuade her, it was useless. Her mother's actions left a shadow in Gu Yuechen's heart. She attributed all the hostility between her and her mother to the invader of the Four Seasons villa, which was Zhao Fen. After that, they would meet 3 to 5 times a year, and they would always part on bad terms. In her memory, her mother would always speak softly to Zhao Fen, as if Zhao Fen was the most outstanding work of art she had raised. However, she would always speak coldly to Gu Yuechen, as if she didn't like him at all. After leaving Zhao Fen's office, Gu Yuechen returned to the position arranged for her by Human Resources. She was still angry. Just as she took out her phone and was about to call Ling Chunwan to complain, she suddenly remembered that she was still in the honeymoon period and gave up. "Miss, Deputy Editor Zhao asked me to bring this information to you." A familiar voice sounded behind her. It was the intern Xiaoyu, who had just brought tea into the office. Gu Yuechen looked up and saw Xiaoyu standing in front of her with a stack of documents in her arms. She was probably frightened by what happened in the office just now. Now, she was trembling with fear when she saw her. Chapter 589. Don't call me miss. I'm an intern like you. Gu Yuechen had always been straightforward. Xiaoyu was so scared that she shivered and nodded quickly. After a while she said hesitantly, "Miss, what should I call you?" "Whatever you want." Seeing that she was at a loss, Gu Yuechen was a little impatient. "Chen is fine. You're already calling me that. How old are you? Why are you as bold as a mouse?" Xiaoyu whispered, 24. "You look like 14. Gu Yuechen pursed her lips and didn't say anything else. She pointed to the information and said, "Zhao Fen wants me to talk to this photographer this afternoon, right?" Xiaoyu nodded quickly. Photographer Luo had already negotiated with the company to sign a contract, but he suddenly backed out 2 days ago. So this is actually quite tricky. Speaking of this, her tone was a little hesitant. In fact, from her expression, Gu Yuechen could tell that this was not a simple matter. How could Zhao Fen give her something simple to do? She couldn't wait to sit in the office every day and watch her embarrass herself. It was a thankless task. This is difficult, isn't it? Hearing this, Xiaoyu was slightly stunned and nodded hesitantly. "Okay, I got it. I'll do it in a while." Gu Yuechen closed the information and glanced at Xiaoyu, who was still standing in front of her. "Is there anything else?" "No, there's nothing else." Xiaoyu shook her head and hurried back to her seat. According to the information, the photographer named Luo Qing was a young photographer who had won the International Photography Art Prize for 3 years in a row. It was said that the 4 major magazines in the world were fighting for him. With so many choices, he was confident that he could reject the olive branch extended by Fengshang. Gu Yuechen only read a part of the information and then left the company with her small backpack. Fengshang set up its headquarters in Los Angeles 10 years ago. Now it was located in the city center with many tall buildings, so it was convenient to go anywhere. Gu Yuechen's car was parked in the garage. The red Lamborghini was dazzling and eye-catching. According to the information, Luo Qing usually worked out in a small members-only gym in the city center at this time in the afternoon. Because of the membership system, Gu Yuechen was directly blocked outside the door by the security guards. She had always had private training and had never been to a gym before. Seeing this, she took out a card and waved it in front of the security guard. "Isn't it just a membership? How much can it cost?" Just give me the bill. I'm sorry. The security guard still had a serious expression on his face. This is a private club, Jim. Are you from the International Photography Association? You have to be a member of the Photography Association before you can apply for a membership card here. Who's so perverted? Didn't you open a gym to make money? Gu Yuechen's face darkened. Call your manager out. I'm sorry, the manager is busy recently. He's not here. Where's the foreman? Where's the person in charge? Call anyone over. I'm sorry. Other than sorry, can you say something else? Gu Yuechen stomped her feet in anger. She was about to argue with them with her hands on her hips, when she suddenly caught a glimpse of a familiar figure from the corner of her eye. Her expression froze. After confirming who it was, she instantly disappeared in front of the security guards and looked out through the gaps between the leaves of a huge banana plant at the entrance of the gym. The tall figure who had just gotten out of the car was Lu Nanzhou, her ex-boyfriend who had just broken up with her. Who else could it be? The point was that there was a woman beside Lu Nanzhou. She looked very innocent and lovely, about 18 or 19 years old, with a ponytail, and followed Lu Nanzhou with a smile on her face. Lu Nanzhou threw the car keys to the waiter and went straight into the gym. The security guard did not stop him. Looking at the two of them chatting happily as they walked in side by side, Gu Yuechen felt as if his heart had been bitten by something. He felt very uncomfortable and involuntarily walked out from behind the plants to follow them. Hey miss, you can't go in. As soon as she finished speaking, a magnetic voice interrupted. Let her in. She's my friend. Gu Yuechen was slightly stunned and looked up at the person. He was 185 meters tall and was wearing black casual clothes. At that moment he took off his sunglasses, revealing a pair of long and narrow almond-shaped eyes. He sized her up with a mischievous smile in his eyes, as if he had known Gu Yuechen for a long time. Gu Yuechen frowned and did not say anything. After she followed the man into the gym, she called out to him and asked, "Thank you for just now. Also, do you know me?" The man's lips curved. Why do you think I should know you? Gu Yuechen pursed her lips. Oh, nothing. I was just asking. She was just guessing. Maybe this person had seen her at some cocktail party and knew her identity, so he helped her. Now it seemed that was not the case. The male and female changing rooms in the gym were in two different directions. The man pointed in the opposite direction and left the hall. After watching the man leave, Gu Yuechen did not go to the changing room as he said. Instead, she put on the clothes she was wearing and walked in the direction Lu Nanzhou had just gone. There were very few people in the swimming pool on the second floor. There was a row of deck chairs beside the pool. Gu Yuechen looked around and saw Lu Nanzhou and the young girl from before. They were opposite the pool. One of them was sitting on a deck chair, and the other was standing. They seemed to be joking. After saying a few words, Lu Nanzhou shook his legs and then jumped into the water with a splash. The young girl sat on the edge of the pool, splashing her feet in the water. Her gaze followed Lu Nanzhou the entire time, looking at how familiar they were. It did not seem like they had just met. Before this, Lu Nanzhou had clearly told her that he was surrounded by men and had never had a woman. Sure enough, a man's words were never true. At this thought, Gu Yuechen rushed over aggressively. Ling Chunwan was so righteous at the wedding, but in the end, he turned around and found someone else. Instead, he pushed all the blame onto her. Lu Nanzhou, you're really something. Hey, get up. Gu Yuechen stood by the pool and looked at the young girl condescendingly. The young girl was stunned. She looked up with a startled expression and sized up Gu Yuechen in front of her. You are. Gu Yuechen's outfit was really inconsistent with the people in the swimming pool. After Lu Nanzhou swam to the opposite side, he grabbed the railing and turned around. He wiped the water off his face and saw her figure. At first he was stunned, but soon he revealed a happy expression. After not contacting her for so many days, he had long regretted impulsively breaking up with her. He originally wanted to go to the Four Seasons villa to apologize to her, but he did not expect that she would come to find him. Thinking of this, he climbed ashore and jogged along the pool. Gu Yuechen did not see Lu Nanzhou. She was busy figuring out whether it was her fault for breaking up with Lu Nanzhou. She would still blame him. If it was not her fault, she would rather die than take the blame. When did you meet Lu Nanzhou? The young girl blinked and became alert. Your brother Nanzhou's. Chapter 590. Ex-girlfriend. Ex-girlfriend. The girl heaved a sigh of relief and got up from the edge of the pool. She grabbed a towel and wiped her neck with a leisurely look on her face. We've already broken up. Why do you care about others? Gu Yuechen's face darkened. I don't care about breaking up. I'm more curious about whether Lu Nanzhou's reason for breaking up with me is as dignified as he said it was. Breaking up just because she wasn't prepared to meet his parents? She felt that this reason was ridiculous. She was only 20 years old. Why did she have to talk about marriage so early? Then what if I told you that I've known brother Nanzhou for a long time? How long? About 2 years ago. We met in Melbourne. It's only been 2 years. Do you think that these 2 years are very short? It can't compare to growing up with you, right? The girl sneered. But it's a pity that brother Nanzhou and I met when we were just teenagers. Before that, we were just children playing house. In terms of time, I can't compare to you. But in terms of intimacy, you might not be able to compare to us. Gu Yuechen was trembling with anger. She gritted her teeth and said, Intimacy? Yes, we're very open. Don't tell me you're also. Ha ha ha. Westerners were very open. Gu Yuechen knew this very well. Unfortunately, she grew up in Lanjiang and hadn't been exposed to this kind of atmosphere in the West. The girl's words made her heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys tremble. She couldn't control her temper and blurted out 3 words. Shameless. At this moment, Lu Nanzhou had just run over. When he heard these 3 words, he was confused. What do you mean shameless? Damn, he directly bumped into Gu Yuechen's gun muzzle. Almost without thinking, Gu Yuechen raised her leg to kick Lu Nanzhou. The girl cried out in alarm and reflexively reached out to grab Lu Nanzhou. However, she lost her balance and fell into the water. The two of them fell into the water together. Their posture was as ambiguous as it could be. The girl didn't know how to swim, so after struggling for a long time, she was finally pulled into Lu Nanzhou's arms and brought to shore. She spat out a few mouthfuls of water and looked at Lu Nanzhou with tears in her eyes. Gu Yuechen, are you crazy? Lu Nanzhou raised his head and glared at her, displeasure written all over his face. It's fine if you mess around at home, but Vivian can't swim. Are you going to take responsibility if something happens to her? Is she blaming me for falling into the water? Gu Yuechen stared at Lu Nanzhou in disbelief. Can you get this straight? She fell down by herself. If you didn't make trouble for no reason, would she have fallen down? Chin, can you reflect on yourself? Since young, you've always blamed other people for causing trouble. Don't you feel that you're not at fault at all? F***ck. Lu Nanzhou, you're my uncle. Gu Yuechen clenched her fists. Her face was livid with anger. Fine, it's my fault. In your eyes, I'm such an unreasonable person. Let's not meet again in the future. She finally understood. Before dating, everything was good, but after dating, everything was bad. It was a stretch to say that distance made the heart grow fonder. It was simply an excuse for men to like the new and dislike the old. After Gu Yuechen angrily ran out of the gym, the hot sun evaporated the water on her body. After walking along the road for 5 minutes, she suddenly remembered why she went to the gym. She slapped her forehead and hurriedly turned around. Enemies often cross paths. As soon as she entered the gym hall, she saw the adulterous couple. After calming down, Lu Nanzhou regretted speaking so rashly. That was why he packed up his things and was about to chase after her. He didn't expect to see her in the hall. He was delighted. Chun, just now. Do I know you? Gu Yuechen rolled her eyes at him and walked straight into the swimming pool. She only left behind a lukewarm sentence. I'm here to look for someone. Help yourself. Lu Nanzhou was stunned. He heard a faint voice beside him. He turned around and saw Vivian with her arms crossed. She was looking in the direction Gu Yuechen disappeared in with interest. He clicked his tongue and sighed. Brother Nanzhou, this little girlfriend of yours has an unusually bad temper. Aren't you going to chase after her and explain? After all, I was just teasing her. Don't cause any trouble because of me. Lu Nanzhou sighed helplessly. She's been like this since she was young. She has a bad temper. But she doesn't do anything overnight. Forget it, I'll send you back to the hotel first. I'll explain to her tomorrow. There was no one in the swimming pool. Only the sound of splashing water could be heard. Gu Yuechen followed the figure in the middle of the pool step by step towards the finish line. According to the information, Luo Qing usually stayed in the swimming pool for the whole morning. If the person she was looking for was not here, then there was no need to look for the gym. The man swam to the finish line. He held the edge of the pool with one hand and wiped the water off his face with the other. He then pushed his goggles up to his swimming cap. When he opened his eyes, he saw a girl squatting on the platform beside the pool. She was looking at him with her chin propped up. "It's you." The girl's voice echoed in the empty swimming pool. The man in front of her was the one who had just brought her in at the entrance of the gym. "Why are you still here?" The man sniffed, jumped out of the pool, and walked towards his seat. "I want to ask you about someone." Gu Yuchen jumped down from the springboard and caught up to him as she asked, "Do you know Luo Qing? He's a very famous photographer, but I don't have any photos of him. Is he here today?" The man laughed in his heart, but his expression did not change. "Why are you looking for him?" "I want to introduce him to a good job." "Oh, he's a special photographer for Fengshan. He takes photos for many big brands." The man wiped his arms and looked indifferent. "As far as I know, Luo Qing likes to take photos of scenery, so those luxury brands don't seem to be suitable for him." "That's good." Gu Yuechen's eyes lit up. "Is he interested in Fengshan in China?" Fengshan plans to run a humanities and geography column in China, specializing in the scenery of China. China is a big place, and there are many beautiful places in China. You've been there? I grew up there, Gu Yuechen said without hesitation. I saw that photographer Luo Qing only takes photos of Western scenery. I learned that he is a Chinese American, but he has never been to China. I think he should be interested. Is that so? The man pondered for a few seconds. But Luo Qing has already left. She was just by the pool. Didn't you see? By the side. Gu Yuechen was stunned. Her mind quickly went through all the people on the shore just now, but she could not find the figure in her impression. I thought you knew each other, but it seems that you two had a little argument. The man's smile was thought-provoking. Gu Yuechen's mouth twitched. An ominous premonition was spreading in her heart. Sure enough, the man's next sentence was, I also saw you push her into the water and fall into the water with the man beside her. Gu Yuechen's smile froze at the corner of her mouth. Luo Qing was a woman, or was it the woman just now? Chapter 591. Seeing the young girl's expression change in an instant, the man suddenly laughed out loud. Why are you so scared? Is it necessary? As for, she had just boasted to Zhao Fen that she would make a name for herself in Fengshan and impress her mother. She had poked a big hole in the ground. Originally, Luo Qing just didn't want to sign a contract with Fengshan. Now, she had pushed her into the water. If they met again, she would be furious. Sign a contract? What's more, this woman and Lu Nanzhou had an ambiguous relationship. She was annoyed whenever she saw her. She didn't want to see her in Fengshan every day. I'm quite familiar with Luo Qing. Do you want me to help you? The man seemed to be unable to stand it and took the initiative to ask for help. Gu Yuechen came back to her senses and quickly waved her hand. No, thank you. I'll leave first. Compared to the impact of messing up this matter, she felt that it was better not to face Luo Qing every day. His ex-girlfriend and current girlfriend worked in the same place, and this Luo Qing was a freelance photographer. Her position was much higher than hers. She didn't want to be like this. Zhao Fen was enough for her. After all, she was just a small intern who asked Zhao Fen to give this matter to her. When she went back, she would say that she didn't see Luo Qing at all. After leaving the gym, she quickly put the matter of not being able to persuade Luo Qing to the back of her mind. She found a cafe to have dinner and then returned to the apartment happily. In order to let her work in peace, her mother didn't even let her go back to the Four Seasons villa. She directly arranged a single apartment for her in the city center for the time being. It seemed that she had been kicked out of the house. As soon as she arrived at the door of the apartment, she saw a figure who seemed to have been waiting for her for a long time. "Why are you here?" Gu Yuechen looked unhappy. Lu Nanzhou twitched the corner of his mouth. "Chun, what happened this afternoon was a misunderstanding. Vivian was just teasing you. I have nothing to do with her. I'm just good friends with her brother." "Oh." Gu Yuechen glanced at him, walked around him, and hurried to open the door. "Hurry up and leave if you're done." She had made up her mind to ignore Lu Nanzhou. Regardless of whether or not he could reveal the details of what had happened in the afternoon, it was already unforgivable that he dared to give her a hard time in front of outsiders. "Are you still angry? What's there to be angry about? Don't you think it's all my fault?" Gu Yuechen blocked him outside the door. "My house is too small for you. Chun, I was wrong this afternoon. I apologize." Bang! Before Lu Nanzhou could finish his words, he was met with a rebuff. The door was mercilessly slammed shut. After closing the door, Gu Yuechen muttered, "Just an apology and it's over? You don't have any sincerity at all. Do you think I'm easy to fool?" After taking a shower and changing into her pajamas, she lay on the sofa with her snacks in her arms and watched TV. During this time, Ling Dongqing made an overseas call and mentioned what had happened in China. "My brother suddenly told us that he's going to get married. The family is in chaos now. Do you know who the other party is?" "Who cares?" Gu Yuechen tossed a plum into her mouth with a nonchalant expression. "Your brother is probably acting on a whim again. A person like him can meet his true love once every 3 minutes. Which time didn't your parents beat him up? I think he's serious this time. He's been nagging for a long time. Ever since he came back from Nuanyuan's wedding, he's been looking for the household register at home. My mother is afraid that he's acting on a whim and has long hidden the household register. I don't usually see him looking for it. Yesterday, he tearfully promised the whole family that he's serious this time and is going to get married." "Who is it? A fairy from heaven? Can Ling Yufeng restrain himself?" Speaking of this, Ling Dongqing laughed. "Duan Ruyan. Do you remember her? Duan Ruyan." Gu Yuechen jumped up from the sofa. "The woman that Zhuang Hong wanted to marry before? The one who runs the nightclub? I remember that she's 5 or 6 years older than Ling Yufeng. Isn't she the same age as Zhuang Hong? She's not just 5 or 6 years older. Everything has its vanquisher. This sister has a high status. I heard that most of the people in the capital are her ex-boyfriends. Back then, Zhuang Hong got engaged to her because of the big hole in the Zhuangyu group, who asked her to be rich. In the end, she was robbed by my brother and sister at the wedding. From then on, she subdued my brother within a month of knowing him. This was also the reason why Ling Yufeng's parents didn't agree to this marriage. After all, Duan Ruyan ran the nightclub and took over the family business at the age of 16. Her scheming and shrewdness were not something that a little playboy like Ling Yufeng could compare to. But I heard that your mother has a relationship with Duan Ruyan's mother. She's not her biological mother. Duan Ruyan was 12 years old when she was adopted by Auntie Sue. Auntie Sue didn't have any children, so she handed the nightclub over to her. She's very hardworking. Think about what we were doing when we were 16 years old. I heard that there were 2 years when the nightclub's business was not good, and she came out to solicit customers herself. Don't talk nonsense. Gu Yuechen frowned and interrupted Ling Dongqing. Where did you hear this? Don't gossip and ruin her reputation. Chun, I don't mean to say this, but her reputation is really bad. If it's really bad, Zhuang Hong wouldn't have gotten engaged to her, right? Why did he have to marry someone with a bad family background? I heard that it was also entrusted by his parents. Auntie Zhuang was actually not very happy at that time. You didn't go to the engagement party, but I did. When Auntie Zhuang heard that Zhuang Hong ran away from the wedding, she smiled. Sigh. She was obviously really not satisfied with Duan Ruyan. No matter what, she can't compare to Nuanyuan, right? Of course. When it came to Ling Chunwan, Gu Yuechen echoed a few words. In terms of family background, character, and temper, who can compare to Nuanyuan? Zhuang Hong must have accumulated several lifetimes of good fortune. Then what did your parents say? Let's meet first. After all, it's been so many years. Although I have an impression of her, I haven't seen her many times. Do you want to come back? I have a hunch that my brother is going to get married soon. No, I'm busy. What are you busy with? Didn't Auntie you arrange for you to go to Fengshan? Why don't you tell Uncle Gu and ask him to let you go to the domestic branch? Forget it. It's good enough that I can get through these 2 days safely. Ha! What's wrong? Nothing. Gu Yuechen was too lazy to explain to him. She yawned and said, let's talk about this later. I'm sleepy, and I have to go to work tomorrow. I'm hanging up. After hanging up the phone, Gu Yuechen took out the potato chips from the bag. She only felt that they were tasteless. After chewing a few times, she threw the rest back and raised her hand to turn off the TV. When she returned to her room, she subconsciously walked to the door and took a look through the peephole. Lu Nanzhou was still at the door. He was squatting in the corridor outside, looking like a doormat. What stubborn temper! Gu Yuechen frowned and forcibly resisted the urge to open the door. She gritted her teeth and went back to her room to sleep. Chapter 592. Gu Yuechen couldn't sleep for the rest of the night. She tossed and turned until the wee hours of the morning. Seeing that the sky was a little bright, she got up from the bed with a grunt and ran barefoot to the porch. She looked outside through the peephole. Lu Nanzhou wasn't there. She frowned and hesitantly opened the security door. As soon as the door opened, she heard a muffled groan, followed by a huge body sliding in front of her. Gu Yuechen's expression stiffened. She stared at the person at her feet in surprise. When she came back to her senses, she raised her voice and shouted, Lu Nanzhou, are you crazy? You've been lying in front of my door all night? Is this person crazy? The air conditioning in the corridor was so strong. How could he sleep? She shouted, but found that there was no response. Lu Nanzhou was lying at her feet like he was about to die. His face was strangely flushed. Gu Yuechen was slightly stunned. She tested the temperature of his forehead. It was as hot as a stove. She immediately frowned. Lu Nanzhou, you're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Gu Yuechen dragged him by the shoulders and dragged him into the house. She complained as she panted. You just don't want me to have an easy time. You're using the trick of injuring yourself to gain my confidence. Let me tell you, I've been studying the art of war since I was young. Your little trick can't fool me. If you have the ability, go find that girl from this afternoon. Damn you. After talking to herself for a long time, Gu Yuechen felt that she must be crazy. Who had she served since she was young? Even her parents didn't receive this kind of treatment. Did she really owe Lu Nanzhou in her previous life? Ever since he was young, he had been a bully. However, when he was 12 years old, he had caused the kidnapping of Lu Nanzhou and Ling Chunwan. After that, he had always been brooding over it. He felt that he owed the two of them, so he rarely showed his rude and unreasonable temper to them. Now the two of them were throwing tantrums at him one by one. Thinking of this, she wrung out the towel and put it on his head, sighing. By the time she was done, the sky was already bright. Gu Yuechen didn't have time to wait for Lu Nanzhou to wake up. She hurriedly went to work. Yesterday's matter hadn't been settled, and it seemed that she couldn't interact with Luo Qing anymore. Otherwise, it would be strange if he cooperated with Feng Shang. As soon as she arrived at the office, Gu Yuechen noticed that the people around her were looking at her strangely. Before she could even sit down, she was called to Zhao Fen's office by her assistant. As soon as she entered the office, Gu Yuechen felt that Zhao Fen was looking at her meaningfully. Why are you looking for me? She frowned, feeling a little guilty. Zhao Fen looked at her and said, I thought you were just boasting about finding Luo Qing. I didn't expect you to be so capable. I underestimated you, Mississippi. Gu Yuechen avoided her gaze and frowned. What do you mean? Photographer Luo has agreed to sign a contract with us. He also volunteered to write a column on Chinese geography for the first 5 years. How is that possible? Gu Yuechen was shocked. Is she crazy? What do you mean? Zhao Fen glanced at her. Photographer Luo specifically asked you to accompany him to do the photography for the first issue. I'm not surprised, but you're surprised first? Gui Wechen finally came back to her senses. She felt that something was wrong. What was going on? Was Luo Qing crazy? She wanted her to accompany him to do the photography? Could it be that he was waiting for an opportunity to take revenge? Photographer Luo is coming to sign the contract later. You can come with me directly to the conference room. After signing the contract, you can follow Photographer Luo and wait for his schedule. In the confusion, Gui Wechen was brought to the meeting room by Zhao Fun. It was only when Luo Qing came in that she understood what was going on. Mr. Luo, it's our honor to have you sign a contract with Feng Shang. Zhao Fun's voice echoed in her ears. Gui Wechen stared at the person who came in, and her face became more and more ugly. Luo Qing, the man she met in the gym yesterday. It was not that woman at all. What's the point of playing with me? Gui Wechen's face darkened the whole time. She didn't give Luo Qing a good look until Zhao Fan happily left the conference room with the contract. Assistant Gu, you seem to have a problem with me? Luo Qing looked at her with a faint smile. Gu Yuchun tidied up the documents in his hands and said in annoyance, "What can I do for you, big sister? Feel free to ask." Sister. Luo Qing twitched the corner of his mouth. Gu Yuchen glanced at him impolitely. I remember someone told me that Luo Qing is a woman. Luo Qing laughed out loud. You're still laughing? In the face of Gu Yuchen's annoyance, Luo Qing raised her eyebrows and approached her with interest. Then, she flicked her forehead without warning. Ah! Gu Yuchen covered her head and bounced away as if she had been electrocuted. She stared at Luo Qing angrily. What are you doing? Luo Qing's handsome face was full of smiles. I think the trip after returning to China will be very interesting. Although Gu Yuchen was very reluctant, after weighing the pros and cons, she still felt that it was better to travel with Luo Qing, a weirdo, than to stay at the headquarters of Fengshang and be ordered around by Zhao Fan. So, she went straight back to the apartment to pack up and prepare for the business trip after work that afternoon. Luo Qing had to stay in China for 5 years, but she didn't need to. She would start school in a month, and then she wouldn't need to maintain her intern status anymore. She believed that her mother wouldn't say anything at that time. It would be enough as long as she could get through this month. When she returned to the apartment, she smelled the aroma of food in the corridor before she opened the door. After opening the door, there were 4 dishes and a soup on the table. The plate was exquisite and looked decent. Why haven't you left yet? Gu Yuchen looked at Lu Nanzhou and frowned. Lu Nanzhou attentively carried her bag, hung her coat, and handed her slippers. The whole process was very smooth. I had a fever last night. It was hard for you to take care of me. Shouldn't I be grateful? That's why I cooked you a meal. Are you tired from work? Gu Yuchen was indifferent. She walked into the living room in her slippers and glanced at the food on the table. You cooked. Lu Nanzhou took a deep breath. I ordered takeout. It doesn't look as good as Nuanyuan's. As long as you like it, I can learn to cook in the future. Come on, it's talent. Gu Yuchen rolled her eyes at him. You won't be able to learn it. Besides, it will take you 10 years to reach Nuanyuan's level. Why should I waste my time with you? Why don't we just go to Nuanyuan's house for dinner? Zhuangheng definitely won't be happy. As long as Nuanyuan is happy, you made up with her. At the mention of this, Gu Yuchen glanced at Lu Nanzhou and said unhappily, You still have the nerve to ask this? Isn't it all because of you? Lu Nanzhou's mouth twitched. How can you blame me? If you didn't confess to me, Nuanyuan wouldn't have eavesdropped. If she didn't eavesdrop, she wouldn't have escaped from Mauritius. She wouldn't have met Zhuangheng. She wouldn't have gotten married so carelessly. She wouldn't have caused me to lose a decent meal. How can you say I don't blame you? It's my fault, okay? Lu Nanzhou scooped a bowl of soup and handed it to her. It's my fault for liking you too much. Chapter 593. Lu Nanzhou's tone was full of affection and gentleness. Gu Yuchen was stunned and felt her heart tremble. She swallowed her saliva and muttered, Can you not say such mushy things? It's so annoying. Hearing this, Lu Nanzhou looked at her with a smile. You don't like it? Lu Nanzhou was known to have a good temper, which was on the same level as Gu Yuechen's known to be spoiled. As the younger brother of the rock queen Lu Jing grew, he had a large group of fans since he was 7 years old and had been followed by his sister on the show. Therefore, he had always been the center of attention since he was a child. Being the center of attention inevitably brought about many inconveniences, such as being followed by paparazzi and being stalked by sightseeing fans. He had experienced it all before, and Lu Nanzhou's sightseeing fans were known as the happiest fans in the world. He once rented an apartment across from his house for 2 girls, who had been waiting in front of his house for a week. It was convenient for them to see him every day when they went out. The only requirement was that they could not take photos. After living there for a month, the girl finally felt guilty and was removed from Lu Nanzhou's sightseeing fans. She had become the #1 rational fan to crack down on sightseeing fans. Gu Yuechen's impression of this kind of temper was that of a sissy for the first 20 years. She couldn't be blamed for this. Lu Nanzhou's body had been weak since he was a child. Before the age of 15, he spoke weakly. He was as thin as a pen and could be blown away by a gust of wind. Therefore, when she heard that Ling Chunwan had a crush on him, she didn't hesitate to ridicule her for an entire afternoon. She also rudely said that if she ever met a gangster like Lu Nanzhou in the future, she would be the first to be scared out of her wits, let alone save her. But who would have thought that the originally thin boy would grow crazily after the age of 15? In just 2 years, he was a head taller than the young lady who had ridiculed him before. He had also cultivated a strong physique. His originally frail temperament had completely transformed into the gentleness in his bones, which made people look at him in a new light. Gu Yuechen, on the other hand, found it difficult to change her opinion of Lu Nanzhou for the time being. If it weren't for the night when Gu Yao and Lu Jingru got married in Mauritius, she was afraid that she would never change her opinion of Lu Nanzhou in this lifetime. That night when Ling Chunwan and Zhuang Hong escaped from the island, Gu Yuechen did not know what happened. The elders also looked like nothing had happened. She looked for Ling Chunwan all over the island, but unfortunately, she had a conflict with the people sent by Zhuang Yu to find Zhuang Hong. Gu Yuechen's skills were not bad, but it just so happened that there were a few days every month when her skills were very inflexible. If Lu Nanzhou had not arrived in time, she would have been at a disadvantage. At that time, for the first time, she found that the young man who had followed her as a doghead strategist since childhood had grown up so well. He was not her underling, he was not a slug that needed to be protected, and he was not someone who would listen to her and follow Ling Chunwan just because she said that she could give him to her cousin. He was a strong and powerful man with his own independent soul. Even if Lu Nanzhou was very gentle at this moment, she still could not ignore the fact that he was already a man who could not be completely controlled by her. Focus on eating. Why are you looking at me? Lu Nanzhou looked at her with a puzzled expression. Gu Yuechen coughed dryly, buried her head in the food, and said while eating, "If you want to live here, you can live here. Anyway, I'm leaving tomorrow." "Where are you going?" "Don't worry about that. It has nothing to do with you anyway." Lu Nanzhou looked at her and was not in a hurry to ask. Early the next morning at the airport, Gu Yuechen pulled a small lightweight suitcase and met Luo Qing. Luo Qing was wearing a simple white t-shirt and black pants, with a pair of anti-radiation glasses on the bridge of his nose. When Gu Yuechen arrived, he was editing the travel plan with a pen in his notebook. His handsome facial features and slender perfect figure attracted many people to look back. "Let's go and change our boarding pass." "Wait a minute." Luo Qing closed the notebook and raised his wrist to look at it. "There are still people who haven't arrived." "Who else?" Gu Yuechen frowned. "Aren't you going to collect materials? Don't tell me you're going to bring a bunch of assistants?" "Yes." Luo Qing smiled meaningfully. "Can you help me carry a tripod or shoot a light? If I don't bring a few more assistants, I'm afraid I won't be able to take a good photo until next year." "You're being unreasonable." Gu Yuechen curled her lips. "There are so many excellent photographers, but I've never seen anyone more arrogant than you." While speaking, Luo Qing waved his hand in the distance. Following his gaze, Gu Yuechen's confusion gradually turned into shock and disbelief. The man and woman walking into the airport hall were Lu Nanzhou and Vivian. Who else could it be? Brother. Vivian ran towards Luo Qing while waving. After throwing herself into Luo Qing's arms, she took off her sunglasses and looked up at Gu Yuechen with a smile. We meet again, Miss Gu. Gu Yuechen was too lazy to talk to her. She stared directly at Lu Nanzhou, who was carrying the luggage behind Vivian, and said, What's going on? You'd better give me an explanation. These are my two assistants. Luo Qing's voice came from behind. Gu Yuechen turned around and looked at Luo Qing in confusion. Let me introduce her to you. This is my younger sister, Luo Wei. You can call her Vivian. Your younger sister? Gu Yuechen looked at Vivian in surprise. This insidious and cunning woman, who pretended to be weak, was Luo Qing's younger sister. They were really from the same family, and were equally cunning. What about you? Who asked you to follow me? Gu Yuechen glanced at Lu Nanzhou. Before Lu Nanzhou could speak, Vivian had already taken his arm and said provocatively, Miss Gu, if I remember correctly, the last time we met, you told me that you and brother Nanzhou had broken up, right? Gu Yuechen's expression froze. You can't have forgotten so quickly, right? Who forgot? We broke up. What does it have to do with you? Since you have broken up, what right do you have to yell at Nanzhou? Brother Nanzhou is my friend. He is very interested in my brother's photography trip, so I plan to bring him along. Is there a problem? Assistant Gu. The words Assistant Gu made Gu Yuechen's anger rise. In the end, it was Luo Qing who came out to smooth things over. Since you all know each other, you will have a companion on the trip to avoid boredom, right? Gu Yuechen's gaze fell on Lu Nanzhou's arm that Vivian was holding. She gritted her teeth and said, Yes, to avoid boredom. Now it's really interesting. From Los Angeles to China, they transferred directly to Gansu. After arriving at the hotel in Dunhuang, Gansu, everyone packed their luggage and prepared to go to the Mingsha Desert the next day. Gu Yuechen couldn't be bothered to talk to Lu Nanzhou the whole time, and Lu Nanzhou was entangled by Vivian and didn't have time to talk to her at all. The night before departure, Gu Yuechen was packing her things for the next day in her room when the doorbell rang. After opening the door, she saw Lu Nanzhou standing at the door with a paper bag in his hand. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.